Chapter 117. Outside the mine. In one of the tents, Bai Luoxue was wearing casual clothes and holding a blueprint in her hand. It was the structural blueprint of the yellow ore. Last night, Bai Luoxue specially invited some grave robbers through some special channels. These people were proficient in geography, so the yellow ore could not be hidden from their eyes. From their point of view, there seemed to be something beneath the yellow ore. The way we are digging now is wrong. Even if we continue to build the bone beams, this place will collapse in half a month if we continue to dig deeper. According to the results of my friend's survey, if we dig in the opposite direction and make a passage from this side of the mountain, we will most likely find the thing hidden under the yellow ore. Thing? What is it? The person who spoke. It was the elder of the Li family, Li Xuelan. Li Xuelan had a high status in the Li family. At the same time, she was Li Tianqing's elder sister and Li Zongjiu's aunt. It was impossible to get Li Xuelan to step forward for ordinary matters. However, too many things had happened recently. The Li family had changed too much, and they were seriously short of manpower. There was even a feeling that there were many things waiting to be done. Therefore, Li Xuelan personally came to oversee the yellow ore. After all, this was a huge industry and an important resource mine. In a sense, the Bai family had become the subordinate of the Li family. However, they were still disloyal, so they had to be watched carefully. Only when the future cooperation gradually stabilized, could they be at ease. According to speculation, there is another mine under the yellow ore. However, we need more accurate exploration to know what kind of mine it is. Bai Luoxue said. Is what you said true? Li Xuelan's eyes darkened, as if she was using a serious expression to tell Bai Luoxue that if what she said was false, the consequences would be severe. Of course. Then, Li Xuelan looked at the blueprint in her hand. She frowned immediately. If we dig from here, we will enter the sphere of influence of the three bandit groups. If the three bandit groups know about it, they will definitely join in. Li Xuelan said. If the three-horse bandit groups knew about this, if the entrance of this mineral vein turned out to be within their sphere of influence, then this matter would be very serious. It would not be a matter of collecting protection fees, but a matter of taking it for themselves. Therefore, they must not know about it. What's your plan? Li Xuelan looked at Bai Luoxue and said. This young man's courage in making decisions far exceeded Bai Wuhen's. However, Bai Luoxue had always considered only one direction, and that was under the situation of absolute victory. She had never considered the situation of defeat. One word, kill. Bai Luoxue said indifferently. Since they're blocking my path to wealth, I'll just have to kill them all. I'll carve out a path of blood so that these people can learn a thing or two. You won't be able to stop me on this path. This tent was filled with Bai Luoxue's murderous aura. Li Xuelan had misjudged this imposing aura that shot into the sky. She was young, but she was decisive in killing. With such courage, she would definitely become a figure in the future. Such a person must be on her side. If she was on the enemy's side, then it would be a huge disaster. The Li family was currently on a bloody path of rise. Although Li Tianqing was in charge of the Li family, he did not relax in the slightest. Practicing the heavenly blaze Lion King art copied by Li Zongjiu, Li Tianqing had made considerable progress. Today, he had made a breakthrough and would like to exchange a few moves with Gu Xuanwu. After a round of fighting, both of them were exhausted and panting like oxen. When Li Tianqing used this set of elemental arts, his elemental energy was as ferocious as a tiger. Although Gu Xuanwu was more experienced, his fists were afraid of the young and strong. For a moment, it was difficult for him to resist Li Tianqing's fists. This set of elemental arts of yours is definitely not limited to the third grade. While panting, Gu Xuanwu sat on a rattan chair, wearing a sweat-soaked white singlet and waving a palm leaf fan in his hand. He said to Li Tianqing. Li Tianqing also continuously poured tea into his mouth. In the process of cultivation, Li Tianqing also discovered the exquisiteness of this elemental art. It was so different from the fire lion art in his family. It was really too terrifying. In the process of cultivating this elemental art, he could clearly feel the energy permeating around his body. He could absorb it at any time. Moreover, what this elemental art described was absolutely terrifyingly detailed in penetrating one's own energy. As a result, Li Tianqing had a better understanding of his body over the past few days. It was no wonder that some experts seemed to know more than others. It was because their levels were different. I think so too. However, this elemental art is only enough to cultivate to the Yuan general level. It is probably incomplete. Li Tianqing said. Now, the Li family is already invincible in the Sunset City. How far do you want to go before you are willing to stop? Gu Xuanwu sighed and asked. Now that he was old, he had already passed the age of fighting and killing. If Gu Xuanwu was still young, then his drive would definitely be stronger than Li Tianqing's. However, this person was most afraid of endless greed. If there was only greed, then he could still control it. However, if there was no end to it, then he would fall into the abyss. Isn't the reason why we are fighting so hard to seek stability? Let's take one step at a time. Li Tianqing said. With his current vision, he could now see the Sunset City, the land of the 13 provinces under the Xingyan dynasty. In the Dinghuan province, there were more than 7 first-class cities, and there was even a provincial city. Below them, there were already more than 30 second-grade cities similar to Northern Medicine City. And there were more than 100 third-class cities similar to the Flying Cloud City. There were even more small cities like Sunset City that weren't ranked in the first place. As for how far he could go, that would depend on where his vision could be set. Within 1,000 miles, the leading force was the Fog Snow Pills sect. At the very least. His Li family also had to walk out of the shadow of the Fog Snow Pills sect. Li Tianqing thought in his heart. He was not like Li Zongjiu who was reborn. If he knew, Li Zongjiu wanted to build the Li family into an aristocratic family with 1,000 years of inheritance. The power of the family would be on equal footing with the imperial family of the dynasty. In fact, in some aspects, they were even more superior than the members of the royal family. He would definitely shout that he was crazy. Even if Li Zongjiu was his son, he would think that Li Zongjiu was crazy. Chapter 118. 3 days later. The restriction of the Fog Snow Valley was activated again. At this moment, there were already 10 elders waiting to enter the valley. Ma Zhao and Yang Hongyu, who had just come out, also walked out obediently. Li Zongjiu naturally stayed inside. As the Fog Snow Pill sect's guardian Chang Wu, these people couldn't do anything to him even if he stayed inside. Greetings, elders. Guardian Li is still cultivating inside. Yang Hongyu bowed to the elders in front of him. Guardian Li. When this person was mentioned, the elders felt awkward. However, there was one person who didn't feel awkward, and that was Qin Lai. There were only 10 elders who could enter the Fog Snow Valley, and they were selected based on their usual contributions. Therefore, Qin Lai naturally came to this place. Li Zongjiu was only in his teens, but his status in the sect was even higher than theirs. Therefore, it was an awkward situation. In fact, when they saw Li Zongjiu, they had to address him as Protector Li. Later, they would pretend that they didn't see Li Zongjiu. The 10 elders entered the Fog Snow Valley one after another. Because the Fog Snow Valley itself was limited in size, it could only accommodate so many people. Of course, the Snow Mist Valley was full of Yuan Qi. If he used this state to assist his cultivation in the early stages, there would be a lot of benefits. However, in the later stages. For example, at Sect Master Chu Aoran's level. This mere abundance of essence energy would not be of much use. It was more about one's own hard work and the absorption of elixirs. Just one pill from him was equivalent to more than 10 years of cultivation. How long would it take for him to catch up with such a gap? Therefore, the strong would become stronger, and the weak would become weaker. Those who didn't know the method would always struggle on this path. When these elders saw Li Zongjiu sitting in the most central position, some of them were unhappy. For example, the Crimson Afterglow Peak's great elder Yan Beihan's face was as cold as ice. Even though Li Zongjiu had become Protector Changwu, they had nothing to say. After all, Li Zongjiu had greater potential than them. However, they still needed to know the seniority. These elders had been working hard in the sect for a long time. Based on their contributions, it was enough for them to receive enough respect in the sect. However, Li Zongjiu didn't seem to realize this at all. On the path of cultivation, there was only life and death. There was no courtesy. Li Zongjiu really doesn't know how to be polite. Yan Beihan muttered under his breath. Seeing that Qin Lai had also moved to the side, Yan Beihan went to sit on a praying mat that was slightly further away from Qin Lai. There were only 4 days left. On the 6th day, the Yuan Qi in the fog snow valley would surge violently. When this surge of Yuan Qi washed over, it would be a good opportunity for a breakthrough. This was because the pressure from the outside world, coupled with one's own control, could very well break through a boundary that one had not been able to break through for a long time. Li Zongjiu didn't feel the change in the crowd around him. At this moment, he had entered an extremely crucial moment. Although the surrounding Yuan Qi was rather dense, Li Zongjiu also felt that the fog snow valley was truly beneficial for the cultivation of mind power while he cultivated the white god Fu. Before cultivating the white god Fu, Li Zongjiu's mind power had been condensed based on his own experience. Now that he had cultivated the white god Fu, Li Zongjiu had completely consolidated his mind power according to the top-notch mind power cultivation method of the White Dragon clan. Li Zongjiu was currently in the middle of cultivating the first level of the white god Fu, which was the most basic and also the most important stage. Place the white piece. At this moment, Li Zongjiu's mind power was like a vast whirlpool, causing the surrounding energy to churn and churn. In the end, the whirlpool formed a white stone at the end of the whirlpool. This was the final realm of the first level. The white piece was placed. At this moment, Li Zongjiu's mental energy turned into a white chess piece and landed in his mind. As a result, Li Zongjiu's cultivation of the white god Fu had officially entered the first level. The first level of the white god Fu. Given my current mind power, it should be comparable to the intermediate second level. Li Zongjiu thought to himself. If he activated the support of the white dragon origin spirit, Li Zongjiu's mind power would become even more terrifying. However, his Yuan Qi cultivation was still holding him back. Give me a turtle energy gathering pill. Li Zongjiu had not eaten another pill besides the one he had eaten on the first day. He still had 2 pills in his hand, so after consuming one, the Yuan Qi in his body began to churn. In Li Zongjiu's mind, the mind white pearl began to spread out. The effects of the pill were instantly absorbed by Li Zongjiu. This should be a characteristic of the white dragon origin spirit. When Li Zongjiu consumed these pills, the benefits he received would usually surpass that of ordinary people. Suddenly, the aura around Li Zongjiu's body swelled. Elder Yan Beihan, who was about 10 meters away, opened his eyes in dissatisfaction. Li Zongjiu's cultivation had caused too much of a commotion. A wave of air hit Yan Beihan's body and interrupted Elder Yan Beihan's breakthrough. Now, he was also looking for the key to his breakthrough and was waiting for the Yuan Qi wave to hit him. This damn brat. Yan Beihan was extremely unhappy that his cultivation had been interrupted. However, when he opened his eyes, he saw that Li Zongjiu's body had undergone an extremely unusual change. Yuan Qi gathered around Li Zongjiu's body, forming a Yuan Qi bath that tightly surrounded Li Zongjiu. The Yuan Qi around Li Zongjiu had already condensed to a peak, gushing out like spring water. The Yuan Qi seemed to have turned into a substantial Yuan Qi spring. Yan Beihan immediately stood up in shock. This guy, that Yuan Qi spring had directly washed away some people. Boom! The wave surged. At this moment, Li Zongjiu's Yuan power had entered a frenzied breakthrough mode. Every time he broke through a level, Li Zongjiu's aura would become stronger by a bit. As a result, the elemental energy in the surrounding area would surge even more violently. What's going on? Why is the Yuan Qi sinking to the ground? Some elders were also startled. Qin Lai and the rest were also shocked to see the changes around them. Is Protector Li breaking through? This level of Yuan Qi overflow is too terrifying. Yan Beihan suddenly raised his head and looked at the sky. Not good, the Yuan Qi wave has been attracted here in advance. What, it's only the 4th day. Many of the elders were somewhat startled and surprised. However, they immediately made their preparations to welcome the incoming Yuan power wave. However, the Yuan Qi wave this time was ferocious and was completely different from the previous one. Even Yan Beihan and Qin Lai, who had been here many times, had never seen such a ferocious Yuan Qi wave. Boom! It was as if a huge water ball had fallen from the sky. With a boom, it instantly fell into the fog snow valley. Poof! Poof! Some elders with weaker cultivations immediately fainted under the surging Yuan Qi wave. A few elders who were slightly clear-headed also discovered something shocking. They were falling again. What happened? Chapter 119. At this moment, in the Foggy Snow Alchemy sect, many people looked in the direction of the Foggy Snow Valley. Just a few moments ago, they saw a strange movement in the direction of the Foggy Snow Valley. Then, after a muffled sound, countless white fog gushed out from the Foggy Snow Valley and eventually swallowed the entire Foggy Snow Valley. The entire Foggy Snow Valley was a vast expanse of whiteness, and nothing could be seen clearly. A few peak masters arrived in front of the Foggy Snow Valley in a flash and saw the white fog gushing out continuously. It seemed to have covered the entire Foggy Snow Valley and no one could get close to it. There's something strange about the white fog. Du Shuangjiang, the peak master of the Fierce Peak, said. When they got close, they immediately felt the Yuan power in their bodies gradually diluting. The 10 great elders are still in the valley. Lin Sung said. Not only that, but Li Zongjiu was also in the Foggy Snow Valley. They couldn't just watch Li Zongjiu and the 10 great elders of the Foggy Snow Alchemy sect die here. Sect Master is here. Chu Aoran also quickly rushed over. When he saw the thick white fog in front of him, his heart sank. Sect Master, what's going on? Chu Aoran shook his head. I've never seen such a situation before. The Foggy Snow Valley is a place where Yuan power gathers. It's a natural training ground. Why is this happening? However, although the white fog has the effect of swallowing Yuan power, it doesn't harm the body. If we enter rashly, our Yuan power will be swallowed by the white fog. It's difficult to move in the white fog. The white fog is to prevent outsiders from entering. Let's wait for 3 days. After 3 days, the Yuan power in the Foggy Snow Valley will dissipate. We'll enter the valley to investigate then. Chu Aoran made a prompt decision. At the same time, he also gave the order to seal off the Fog Snow Valley. No one was allowed to get close to it. The appearance of the white fog was strange. There were no strange reactions after coming into contact with it. However, if there were any serious sequelae, it would be troublesome. Chu Aoran did not want this strange white fog to come out of nowhere and destroy his sect. Chu Aoran and the others could only observe the situation for the time being. Any Yuan power that came into contact with this white fog would be immediately devoured completely. Such a strange scene made people's hearts involuntarily turn cold. Fortunately, the white fog only covered a small area around the Fog Snow Valley. Other places were not affected. In the Fog Snow Valley, Li Zongjiu opened his eyes. There was only a faint light around them, but Li Zongjiu knew that they were no longer in the same place. What happened? Li Zongjiu was suddenly curious. How could something like this happen in the Fog Snow Valley? The clash of yuan power from before seemed to have caused an incredible impact, causing the originally small territory within the Fog Snow Valley to sink by nearly 10 meters. The surrounding mountain walls seemed to have become taller. What happened? Is everything all right? Yan Beihan's voice rang out. The commotion just now was too big, and some people had not woken up when the waves of yuan power came crashing down, so they directly fainted. Only 6 elders were awake. One of them was injured. Qin Lai's cultivation was similar to Yan Beihan's, so he did not suffer any injuries. Li Zongjiu, look at what you've done. What have you done? Yan Beihan angrily rebuked. Li Zongjiu glanced at Yan Beihan. At this moment, the yuan power in Li Zongjiu's body finally calmed down. I just broke through to the 6th grade of the Yuan Master Realm. Li Zongjiu frowned. According to Li Zongjiu's own estimation, it would at least break through to the 7th grade, or even the 8th grade. This Turtle Origin Energy Gathering Pill, in any case, was a 2nd grade high-grade pill. The effect should not be so bad. Old fox, what does this have to do with Enforcerly? Don't bite people in a hurry. Qin Lai immediately roared after hearing this. He did not give Yan Beihan any face. When Yan Beihan heard this, he immediately looked at Qin Lai. Have you been beaten into an idiot by this brat? You can't even beat a teenager, and you still have the nerve to shout in front of me? Yan Beihan said mockingly. Qin Lai did not use his brain before doing things. In Yan Beihan's eyes, he was not a threat at all. To him, Qin Lai was just lucky to have such strength. In less than 2 years, Qin Lai would no longer be his opponent. Although the two of them were of the same rank, Yan Beihan still looked down on Qin Lai. Come, come, come. I want to see who's the idiot today. Qin Lai said as he rolled up his sleeves and was about to fight. The surrounding elders quickly came forward to stop the fight. They did not know what was going on. If they let the two experts fight again, they would not be able to leave. Li Zongjiu did not care about the dispute between Qin Lai and Yan Beihan. Instead, he was trying his best to recall what happened to the Fog Snow Alchemy sect in his previous life. Although I did not pay much attention to it at that time, I heard that the Fog Snow Alchemy sect suddenly obtained a treasure after I went missing. It made Chu Aoran a famous expert in the Dinghuan province, but at the same time, it brought about a fatal disaster. Li Zongjiu thought in his heart. His memories of the Fog Snow Alchemy sect in his previous life were very vague because he rarely came into contact with them. Not long after, the Fog Snow Alchemy sect only existed in name. Could it be because of the changes in the Fog Snow Valley? Li Zongjiu raised his head and looked up. He immediately saw that there seemed to be something moving quickly at the top of the cliff. Its body was pale, but its movements were agile. On the cliffs around the Fog Snow Valley, it immediately formed a terrifying threat. Look, what's that? An elder from Lai Feng said. There was no white fog in the Fog Snow Valley, but outside the Fog Snow Valley, thick white fog could be seen. At the same time, there seemed to be something crawling out of the white fog, entering the valley and climbing down the cliff. Mutated meta beast? Yan Beihan and the others immediately became alert. Once the meta beast got close, it would not be fun. These meta beasts usually lived on human flesh and blood, and they were bloodthirsty. Yan Beihan and the others were also close to each other. They could already see at least 7 to 8 white beasts charging towards them at a fast speed from this distance. These white meta beasts were like crocodiles with longer limbs. However, their speed was even faster. They crawled on the cliff with their limbs as if they were walking on flat ground. Their huge heads seemed to have the strength of 10,000 kilograms. The corners of their long mouths outlined a few sharp teeth, and they were there to bite their prey. No, it's not a treasure. It seems to be a medicinal herb. Li Zongjiu's memory surged like a spring. Immediately, he locked onto a medicinal herb in his mind. Grade 5 Spiritual Herb. Heavenly Vein 7 stars. Chapter 120. I can't believe that I forgot about it. A grade 5 spirit herb was nothing to Li Zongjiu in his previous life. However, it was a rare treasure to Li Zongjiu, who was only at the Yuanshi level. Heavenly Vein 7 stars. If it was consumed directly, it could open one's 7 meridians and 8 meridians in a short period of time. If it was refined by an expert, it could be refined into a grade 5 elixir. Heavenly Vein Elixir. In his previous life, Chu Aoran had directly consumed the Heavenly Vein 7 stars, which allowed his cultivation to soar. He had reached an extremely powerful state, but in the end, he did not manage to preserve his cultivation. It was said that he was refined into a blood elixir. Just like what Li Zongjiu did, he directly refined a person into a blood elixir. This way, he could obtain the power in the blood. The Heavenly Vein 7 stars growth conditions are strange. It needs to grow at the bottom of the patio where spirit energy gathers. Li Zongjiu suddenly thought of this. He glanced at the fog snow valley. It was not a valley at all. It was a patio. If that was the case, the Heavenly Vein 7 stars were beneath their feet. With the strength of the Heavenly Vein 7 stars' origin energy, it was enough to support a terrifying origin energy. It could even form a hollow area beneath Li Zongjiu and the others. The Heavenly Vein 7 stars were hidden beneath their feet. The elemental energy that Li Zongjiu had released earlier was actually being compressed by the ground, releasing the elemental energy from the underground. It attracted the white mutated meta beasts. These meta beasts are also here for the Heavenly Vein 7 stars. Li Zongjiu had already sorted out the situation in front of him. However, that Qin Lai suddenly shouted. Everyone, be careful. As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding 7 to 8 mutated meta beasts charged towards Qin Lai and the others. 1,000 feet of flames. Yan Beihan formed a seal with both hands and immediately mobilized the origin energy in his body. It immediately turned into 1,000 feet of sharp sword and swept forward. However, the meta beasts' movements were swift and they dodged the attack with a few leaps. Earth-spreading flame. Qin Lai did the same. But this time, Qin Lai's creeping blue flames seemed to have grown eyes as they swept towards the 3 white origin beasts. However, this move didn't work. 2 of the origin beasts instantly broke free. Qin Lai paid special attention to the 3rd origin beast. He fell to the ground with a thud. Seeing this, Yan Beihan immediately activated the blazing sword aura that was several feet long and slashed towards the meta beast. Boom! The sword chi hit the meta beast and instantly shattered. It was like a vase falling on the floor. It shattered so cleanly. What? Yan Beihan was shocked. How could such a thing happen? His all-out attack was actually unable to harm the origin beast at all. Fortunately, the origin beast wasn't completely unscathed. After it landed on the ground, it stopped moving. Although it had a strong defense, that move was enough to shatter the internal organs of the origin beast. Roar! The meta beasts at the back were charging at them dauntlessly. The 6 of them immediately fell into a tough battle. At the same time, they had to protect the 4 elders who had fainted. Fortunately, these elders were all origin general experts. They didn't panic in such a dangerous situation. After exchanging blows with the meta beasts, they realized that the meta beast's strength was equivalent to that of an ordinary origin general expert. However, in terms of speed and defense, they were much faster than an ordinary origin general cultivator. Boom! One of the elders was suddenly flung by the meta beast. A ghastly wound appeared on his waist. Tai Mao Shan! Qin Lai shouted. The injured elder was the elder from Blazing Peak. Elder Tai Mao Shan was flung to the ground. At the same time, he was sent flying dozens of meters away. He rolled out of the defensive circle that Qin Lai and the others had set up. Oh no! Yen Beihan also shouted in a low voice. He wanted to go forward to save him, but the surrounding area was already under fierce attack. He couldn't free himself to do anything. The Yuan beast that had sent Tai Maoshan flying earlier pounced towards Tai Maoshan once again, preparing to devour him. Tai Maoshan lay on the ground. His waist was in great pain and blood was flowing. The dizziness from losing a large amount of blood filled his mind. Suddenly, Tai Maoshan started hallucinating. Boom! A figure fell in front of Tai Maoshan. Tai Maoshan was awakened by the shock. The scene in front of him also returned to normal. When Tai Maoshan saw the thing that had fallen beside him, he was so shocked that he broke out in cold sweat. What? The meta beast that had been chasing after him was directly lying on the ground. There were obvious signs of breaking at its throat. This attack had already shattered its throat. Who did this? Tai Maoshan's gaze followed and immediately saw a young figure walking towards the battle circle. At that moment, Qin Lai and the others were surrounded by more than 10 white meta beasts. It's just a few white mist beasts. Li Zongjiu stretched his wrist. These white mist beasts were here to steal from him. Of course, Li Zongjiu wanted to kill them all. Moreover, if Li Zongjiu still didn't make a move, these people wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. Be careful, Enforcer Li. Qin Lai couldn't help but remind Li Zongjiu when he saw him walking over leisurely. As soon as he finished speaking, 2 white mist beasts pounced at Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu sped up and stretched out his hands. These white mist beasts seemed to have sensed Li Zongjiu's intention. As they were flying, they violently swung their tails. One up and one down. The domineering power was enough to split Li Zongjiu in half. However, Li Zongjiu's body also moved horizontally in the air and easily dodged this attack. However, these white mist beasts weren't so lucky. Li Zongjiu grabbed the throat of one of them. Li Zongjiu inserted his whole hand into the throat and pulled out the larynx and other organs. Whoosh! Blood splattered everywhere on the ground. A kick landed on the white mist beast's body. Instantly, the white mist beast flew backward and crashed into the other one. While it was still in a daze, it saw a figure walking directly towards it. Immediately, the white mist beast used its unique skill. That was to pounce and bite. Die! Li Zongjiu stretched out his hand and a ray of origin energy flew out from his hand. Although it wasn't strong, it was very fast. Whoosh! The origin energy blade that was as thin as a cicada's wing instantly cut off the origin beast's head. In front of Li Zongjiu, these 2 domineering white mist beasts were like ducks with their necks stretched out and waiting for death. Their weakness is at the throat. Qin Lai saw this shocking scene. These 2 meta beasts were killed by Li Zongjiu so easily. Evidently, Li Zongjiu found their weakness. Since he had found their weakness, then everything was easy. So the defense on the other side is so weak. These elders immediately went on a killing spree. Their bodies were stained with blood, and they did not show any mercy. Moreover, their thoughts were very clear. About an hour later, the last white fog beast was killed by them. Blood splattered all over the ground. Yen Beihan panted heavily. However, he didn't dare to underestimate Li Zongjiu anymore. There was even a trace of respect. Chapter 121. Reverence? Yen Beihan shook his head when he sensed this. How could this be possible? He was the great elder of the Crimson Afterglow Peak. How could he be in awe of a disciple from the Long Medicine Peak who was just a few days ago? However, when he saw Li Zongjiu's attitude in the face of danger, he was shocked. It was as if he had been through thousands of battles. Moreover, when he was killing the meta beasts, he was so calm, practiced and simple. There were no unnecessary movements and no excess meta energy. He was so straightforward when he attacked. In the eyes of Yen Beihan and the others, Li Zongjiu was clearly an old monster who had been through hundreds of battles and was not a teenager. This kid must be a natural battle genius. Otherwise, where did he get his battle experience from? The few of them had been through a battle. Until now, they were still in shock and could not believe it. No one would have expected such a situation to occur in the Fog Snow Valley. Fortunately, it was the 10 great elders who were here. If the previous disciples were here, they would probably have been wiped out. There were more than 10 corpses on the ground. The boiling hot blood continued to seep into the ground. The rest of the elders were still in a state of shock. They were even discussing where these things came from. How could such a thing happen in the Fog Snow Valley? Some of the elders were treating their injuries. Li Zongjiu looked at the way the blood was flowing and suddenly frowned. The blood flowed into the ground. However, it was not flowing randomly. Instead, after it gathered in one direction, it suddenly dropped in a straight line. The surrounding area seemed to be corroded by the blood. The 7-star heavenly vein's power is the essence of meta-energy. It is the most resistant to these bloody things. Oh no, there are meta-beasts underground. Suddenly, Li Zongjiu felt a strong murderous intent blossoming from the ground. Even if Li Zongjiu wanted to leave the ground, it was too late. A huge tentacle rushed out from the ground with a boom. She wrapped her arms around Li Zongjiu's waist. Li Zongjiu's entire body was pulled directly towards the hole. Not good, Guardian Li is in danger. Qin Lai exclaimed. Everything happened so suddenly that even these Yuan generals couldn't react in time. They could only watch as Li Zongjiu was dragged underground by that strange tentacle. 1,000 feet of flames. Yen Beihan's reaction was extremely fast. He swept his flame sword over, but it swept across the ground and did not cut anything. Li Zongjiu was dragged away just like that. Everyone gathered around. When they saw the pitch-black hole, they couldn't help but feel their blood run cold. What kind of meta-beast was that just now? They looked at each other and couldn't help but tremble in their hearts. Yen Beihan seemed to have thought of something and could not help but gasp. Not good. The appearance of that tentacle just now seems to be the Nine life-stealing octopus recorded in the sect. Nine life-stealing octopus. Isn't that just a legend? I've always thought that this part of the record was just a legend. Legend has it that the Fog Snow Alchemy sect used to be a battlefield of meta-beasts. The Nine life-stealing octopus was the king that was born there. Later on, for some reason, it drilled into the ground and disappeared. Qin Lai explained. Some elders didn't know about this record. Only great elders like them would pay attention to such things. But this Nine life-stealing octopus is a meta-beast from at least 300 years ago. If it's still alive today, what kind of realm would it be? They looked at each other and couldn't help but be shocked. The Fog Snow Alchemy sect was established less than 100 years ago. This meta-beast had existed here for hundreds of years. It was simply unimaginable how powerful it was. Li Zongjiu was captured by the Nine life-stealing octopus. It was easy to imagine how painful this would be. We can't stay here for long. Quickly go back and report to the sect master before making a decision. Yen Beihan said. If it was really the Nine life-stealing octopus, then the situation would be really troublesome. Anyway, Li Zongjiu would definitely die. But who could guarantee that the Nine life-stealing octopus wouldn't come out and slaughter everyone in the Snow Pill sect? There was such a terrifying meta-beast hiding under their sect's soil. Who could guarantee that it wouldn't come out of the ground and devour the entire sect while they were still sleeping? Qin Lai, what do you say? Qin Lai muttered to himself for a moment. Although he really wanted to rescue Li Zongjiu at this moment, with their strength, they would only be throwing their lives away if they went down. If they continued to stay here, they would definitely be in danger. Moreover, the more serious thing was the potential threat. He had to report this matter to the sect. At the very least, he had to let the sect be prepared. There's no time to lose. We will report this to the sect immediately. As for Protector Li, he sacrificed himself heroically to protect the sect. Qin Lai said. The elders couldn't help but feel a sense of helplessness in their hearts. Seeing the people of their sect being captured by the meta beast with their own eyes, and they couldn't even do anything to save them, was the most helpless and infuriating thing. They loosened their clenched fists again. Qin Lai and Yan Beihan opened the seal in front of them and then walked out of the seal. However, the white mist outside didn't disperse. Their figures immediately rushed into the white mist. At first, they didn't feel anything. But the deeper they went, the weaker their strength became. Oh no, there's poison in the white mist. Qin Lai and Yan Beihan could sense each other, but the elders behind them lost their sense of direction. The journey wasn't considered long, only a distance of 1,000 meters. Even if they closed their eyes, they could still rush in. But when they plunged into the white mist, everything changed. It was as if they were trapped in this white world. You and I, set up the formation here. If we retreat now, we will still die. At that moment, the two of them sat where they were. They used their remaining strength to maintain the formation around them. At the same time, they sent out a signal to summon the elders who had lost their way. At the same time, they also wanted to tell the sect experts outside the white mist that they were trapped here. With our cultivation, we can at most hold on for 3 days. If the white mist doesn't disperse after 3 days, we can only fight it out. Qin Lai poured out a pill from the porcelain bottle in his hand. This pill became their trump card at a time like this. If they didn't have this pill to replenish their strength, they would have lost their will to fight in less than a day. Chapter 122. In the crypt. Li Zongjiu was swept away by the huge tentacle. Although he was caught off guard at first, Li Zongjiu soon used his own escape technique. Yuan power enveloped his entire body. Just as that languid octopus-like thing was about to stuff Li Zongjiu into its mouth, it immediately waved its sword and slipped out of the cave. His body landed on the ground in an instant. Around him was some sticky liquid that was jealous of him. Li Zongjiu rubbed his fingers and frowned. How disgusting. The moment he was caught, Li Zongjiu had already used his mind power to investigate the meta beast. This is the legendary 9-yin fatal octopus of the Fog Snow Pill sect. It's just a slightly bigger octopus. Li Zongjiu's heart sank. Because he suddenly remembered that this octopus should be a creature from more than 300 years ago. It actually lived until now and was buried underground all year round. What did it rely on to survive? Soon, Li Zongjiu saw a place that was emitting light in this dark and damp environment. Heaven Vein 7-Star Grass. Li Zongjiu saw the legendary Heaven Vein 7-Star Grass. Not far from the Heaven Vein 7-Star Grass, there was a huge octopus monster entrenched. Its huge limbs were also constantly swaying in all directions. As it swayed and lifted, some sticky liquid flowed out. It looked extremely disgusting. Above the octopus monster's head, some blood flowed down and dripped onto the octopus monster's head. So this octopus monster used the power of the Heaven Vein 7-Star Grass to attract these meta beasts. Li Zongjiu thought to himself. This octopus monster was quite smart. However, the octopus monster refused to leave because it was waiting for the Heaven Vein 7-Star Grass to mature. The 9-yin fatal octopus should have caught Li Zongjiu and eaten him. However, when it threw him into its mouth, it didn't eat anything. This puzzled the 9-headed deadly octopus. Unfortunately, Li Zongjiu's body was too small. It was not enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. Therefore, he simply ignored this matter. This octopus is at least 200 meters long. Li Zongjiu thought to himself. However, the most important thing right now was to pluck the Heaven Vein 7-Star Grass and leave this place. Such a giant octopus monster can almost dominate the underground world. It won't be easy to get it. Li Zongjiu observed for a while. Based on the aura of this octopus monster, it should also be at the peak of the Yuan general grade. As long as it ate the sky vein 7-star grass, the octopus monster would become a sky origin ancestor. No wonder Chu Aoran was able to obtain the 7-star grass so easily in his previous life. If Chu Aoran were to take action, he would definitely be able to kill this 9-yin fatal octopus. I can't delay this any longer. Those elders will definitely ask the sect for help. At that time, Chu Aoran will definitely take action. It will be even more difficult to snatch the sky vein 7-star grass from Chu Aoran. Li Zongjiu thought to himself. Time was of the essence. He had to settle this in a short period of time. Otherwise, the situation would become even more complicated when Chu Aoran arrived. The Yuan power between heaven and earth gradually seeped through the ground. It surged towards the sky vein 7-star octopus. Rumble. The sky vein 7-star octopus emitted a radiant and holy power. When this power brushed past the 9-yin fatal octopus body, it immediately felt that the octopus body gradually became relaxed, as if it had entered a very relaxed state. How dare you absorb my sky vein 7-star grass? Li Zongjiu was instantly enraged when he saw this. It was not easy for him to find the sky vein 7-star grass. How could he let such an idiot waste it? Li Zongjiu immediately released his mental energy. At this moment, Li Zongjiu's mental energy seemed to have turned into a white chess piece. How did my mental energy become like this? Li Zongjiu thought that this was just a storage state. However, when he used his mental energy to attack, it still appeared in this state. However, just as Li Zongjiu was in shock, the 9-yin fatal octopus had already discovered this trace of fluctuation. It immediately woke up from the relaxed state. The entire underground cave also began to rumble and shake. Then, the thick tentacles swept towards Li Zongjiu from all directions. Boom! After sensing Li Zongjiu's existence, the 9-yin fatal octopus was obviously very angry and unhappy. How dare such a puny human act so presumptuously in its territory? As a peak level 3 meta beast, Li Zongjiu also knew how powerful this guy was. Now, the only power Li Zongjiu could use to defeat this meta beast in front of him was his mental energy. Forget it, this white chess piece is white then. Li Zongjiu thought. Although this mental energy was strange, it still had its power. Immediately, Li Zongjiu used his mental energy as a hidden weapon and directly hit the 9-yin fatal octopus. Boom! Li Zongjiu's move directly knocked the 9-yin fatal octopus over. The 9-yin fatal octopus's huge body suddenly began to roll in the sealed cave. It turned the entire place upside down. At the same time, the mud below was constantly being lifted up. Li Zongjiu propped up a portion of origin energy as a defense around his body. It blocked the mud from flying up. If he wanted to defeat this guy, he had to leave this place. Li Zongjiu thought. Although the mental energy attack just now was extremely penetrative, the gap between the two parties was still quite big. The octopus had lived for hundreds of years, so its mental energy was more or less above Li Zongjiu's strength. It just did not know how to use it. Li Zongjiu's attack. Immediately, the 9-yin fatal octopus felt pain. Pick the herb first. Li Zongjiu's figure immediately rushed towards the heaven vein 7-star grass. At this moment, Li Zongjiu had not come to fight with this big guy, but for the heaven vein 7-star grass. Whoosh! His figure rapidly approached. Amidst the chaos, the 9-yin fatal octopus also suddenly shot a large amount of 9-yin fatal gas in the direction of Li Zongjiu. Once the 9-yin fatal gas was wrapped around one's body, even if one's strength had reached the level of origin ancestor, he would definitely be dragged down and his cultivation level would plummet. There might even be side effects such as being in a trance. In the end, he would become a lunatic. 9-yin fatal gas. Block it for me. Li Zongjiu took out a blood bead from his chest. Immediately, the blood bead in his hand made a swoosh sound. It turned into a cloud of blood mist and blocked in front of him. It directly blocked all the 9 baleful qi. After all, this underground cave was where the 9 fatal octopus was located. It could not hold on for too long. Golden Dragon Original Spirit. Li Zongjiu shouted in a low voice. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he directly wrapped the Heaven Vein 7-star grass in front of him with the energy in his hand. He grabbed it. According to his previous judgment, this Heaven Vein 7-star grass was on the verge of maturity. The white mist outside should have come because of the Heaven Vein 7-star grass's maturity. This heaven and earth treasure was indeed different. The breakthrough of one's state actually had the help of the power of heaven and earth. Just this point alone was enough to show how impressive the power of the Heaven Vein 7-star grass was. Caught it. Li Zongjiu's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. Li Zongjiu had already grasped the Heaven Vein 7-star grass in his hand. The tyrannical spiritual energy lingering in his hand also made Li Zongjiu's heart surge. Boom! Suddenly, the surrounding mud seemed to explode. Li Zongjiu was directly blown to the ground by the mud. Buzz! There seemed to be a surge of power rising from the 9 fatal octopus. It directly broke the ground and a huge figure rushed out of the ground. Li Zongjiu also returned to the ground again, covered in mud. When the 9 fatal octopus's figure completely climbed out of the ground, Li Zongjiu's eyes were filled with surprise. It's so big, even bigger than I thought. Chapter 123. It was obvious that the 9 fatal octopus had also seen Li Zongjiu. There was also the smell of the 7 stars Heaven Vein grass that still lingered in Li Zongjiu's body. This 7-star grass had been guarding this place for close to 300 years. Just as it was about to mature, the 7-star grass had been snatched away by someone else. Such monstrous anger caused the 9 fatal octopus to erupt. Dozens of tentacles propped up its huge body, and it immediately assumed the posture of a giant beast. When such a huge body stood up, it covered the sky and covered the sun. Li Zongjiu saw the 9 fatal octopus body growing bigger and bigger. Let's go. Li Zongjiu did not say anything. Since he had already gotten the elixir, there was no point in continuing the fight. Of course, he would let Chu Aoran deal with it. As the 7-star grass was plucked away, the white fog that was used to protect the area slowly disappeared. Elder Qin Lai and the others, who were prepared for a protracted battle, also stood up. Fortunately, they were not attacked while waiting in the white fog. When the elders stood up, they happened to see Chu Aoran and the others landing in front of them. As the sect master of the Fog Snow Elixir sect, he naturally paid attention to such a big event. When he saw the white fog gradually disappear, he immediately rushed over. Du Shuangjiang, the peak master of the Fierce Peak, accompanied him. As for the peak master of the Crimson Afterglow Peak, he was overseeing the sect and directing most of the disciples to carry out other matters. Seeing the arrival of Chu Aoran and Du Shuangjiang, these elders felt as if they were relieved of a heavy burden. It was as if they had been saved, and all of them relaxed. Sect Master, something bad has happened. Protector Li is, Qin Lai thought of Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu was dragged into the ground by the meta beast, and it was likely that he was done for. However, before Qin Lai could finish his words, then, a thunderous boom could be heard. Boom! The mountain behind him seemed to have exploded. The cliffs in the Fog Snow Valley were also constantly shattered. This patio was easily shattered at this moment. Suddenly, a huge beast emerged from within. Its huge limbs kept climbing up the surrounding cliffs. 9 Fatal Seal. It really is the 9 Fatal Octopus. Qin Lai and Yen Beihan saw this and cried out in surprise. Chu Aoran raised his head and saw the enormous 9 Fatal Octopus. It's actually the 9 Fatal Octopus. I didn't expect the records in the Fog Snow Valley to be real. The Fog Snow Valley wasn't originally occupied by the Fog Snow Alchemy sect, but by another sect. Later on, this sect declined, and the ruins were occupied by the Fog Snow Alchemy sect, who established a new sect. The records of the Misty Snow Valley were passed down. He had never imagined that the nine fatal octopus would actually exist. Then in front, is there someone running? Du Shuangjiang pointed to the front and said. A thin and weak figure was flying out of the forest at high speed. It's Li Zongjiu. Chu Aoran said. With his eyesight, he could naturally see it. Li Zongjiu's figure swayed, and the nine fatal octopus chased after him. If it weren't for Li Zongjiu's exquisite footwork, he might have been thrown into the nine fatal octopus's mouth again. A mere nine fatal octopus dares to cause trouble in my sect's territory. Chu Aoran's voice was like a huge bell that spread everywhere. Like a rolling wave, it swept past Li Zongjiu's figure and rushed towards the mountain-like nine fatal octopus, which was almost 300 meters behind him. Rumble. Chu Aoran's aura collided with the nine fatal octopus. The nine fatal octopus immediately released the nine fatal octopus, which turned into a torrent and rushed down. Under the nine fatal octopus, the lush trees below instantly withered and their leaves drifted away. Such a terrifying scene of withering was shocking even to ordinary people. In the eyes of the elders, they were also extremely fearful. Li Zongjiu smoothly dodged this attack. Even when he was running for his life, he didn't panic and was orderly. It seemed that he was very confident, which was why he arrived so easily. After his figure landed, Li Zongjiu also looked at Chu Aoran, who was fighting the nine fatal octopus behind him. Protector Li, are you alright? Qin Lai stepped forward and hurriedly asked. They had abandoned Li Zongjiu in the Fog Snow Valley and fled. It was indeed not very righteous, but in the situation at that time, no one dared to act rashly. They couldn't be blamed. Moreover, Li Zongjiu didn't count on them at all. It was better to leave one's life in one's own hands. I'm fine. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. He turned around and looked at the battle between Chu Aoran and the nine-headed fatal octopus. Such a scene was not much different from his previous life. With Chu Aoran's strength as a Sky Origin ancestor, killing the nine-headed fatal octopus could be said to be a piece of cake. After all, there was an entire level of difference between them. However, after killing the nine fatal octopus, the Heaven Pulse 7-star herb would fall into Li Zongjiu's hands. When Li Zongjiu gathered enough herbs, he would refine the great overarching Heaven Pulse pill. Whether it was to prolong one's life, strengthen one's body, or increase one's origin energy, it wouldn't be a problem. Chu Aoran's Sky Origin Ancestor aura was fully displayed. The slash of origin energy was incomparably sharp. It turned into a sharp sword and directly split the nine fatal octopus into two. A peak level 3 Origin Beast's Origin Crystal was in his hands. This Origin Crystal was a kind of substance condensed in the body of a Origin Beast. It was also the core of the Origin Beast's power. Using this Origin Crystal could be used for many purposes, such as providing energy for an array. To refine this pill. Or to use it for other purposes. These were all very common. Origin crystals also had their own attributes. The higher the level, the rarer the attribute, and the greater the value. Just an ordinary peak level 3 origin crystal like this was worth more than 1,000,000 gold yuan. Not to mention that this was an origin crystal with 9 fatal aura. Sect Master is amazing. Qin Lai and the others exclaimed. As expected of the Sect Master of the Fog Snow Pellet sect. Only with such strength could he protect the sect. Even without the elders, the Sect Master alone was enough to support the entire sect. This was the embodiment of one person and one sect. As long as the Sect Master was around, the Fog Snow Pellet sect would also be around. I didn't expect this beast to really exist. Fortunately, there weren't too many casualties this time. Chu Aoran said. Then, his gaze fell on Li Zongjiu. Custodian Li, do you know why the 9-in life-stealing octopus is underground? Chu Aoran's eyes were like needles that pierced towards Li Zongjiu. However, on the surface, he remained calm and collected. The 9-in fatal octopus must be hiding at the bottom of the Fog Snow Valley for a reason. Otherwise, it wouldn't stay here so foolishly. Among so many elders, only Li Zongjiu was captured and successfully escaped. If it really wanted to do something, only Li Zongjiu had the strength and opportunity to do so. I don't know. On the other hand, Li Zongjiu calmly spat out 2 words. He was expressionless. With Chu Aoran's skills, he was still far from being able to get anything out of Li Zongjiu. Chapter 124. Chu Aoran stared at Li Zongjiu for a while, but Li Zongjiu's body did not fluctuate at all. It was as if he was completely unaware. However, Chu Aoran knew that this was because Li Zongjiu's own belief had reached a state of stubbornness. Others would want to see the flaw in Li Zongjiu's body. That was almost an impossible thing. After a while, Chu Aoran withdrew his gaze. Since it was futile, there was no need to continue investigating. Since everyone is fine, let's go back and rest. Let the people from the Long Medicine Peak take away the corpse of this meta beast and see what it can be used to refine. Chu Aoran said. Li Zongjiu and the others also left directly. They originally had 4 days to break through, but now that something like this had happened, their original cultivation plan was disrupted. Li Zongjiu was also helpless. However, Li Zongjiu also knew that from today onwards, the Yuan Qi gathering in the Fog Snow Valley would not happen again. The Fog Snow Valley existed in name only. Although the Yuan Qi in the Fog Snow Valley was denser than the outside world due to the remaining power of the Heaven Pulse 7-star grass, it would definitely not cause such a scene. Therefore, Li Zongjiu did not have any use for staying here. That day, Li Zongjiu left the Fog Snow Pills sect and returned to the Luoxia city as a protector. The cooperation between the Luoxia city's Li family and the Long Medicine Peak was still going on. With the Long Medicine Peak's agreement, the Li family's profits also increased exponentially. And today, the Li family received an invitation from the Northern Medicine City. The Northern Medicine Alliance of the Northern Medicine City invited the Li family's patriarch to the Northern Medicine City for a chat. Just when everyone was hesitating about what to do. If Li Tianqing went to the Northern Medicine Alliance, the outcome could be imagined. It was unknown whether he could survive, but it was certain that he would not be able to return in one piece. After all, the Li family killed their deputy alliance leader Shang Quan. This was a very serious matter. The Northern Medicine Alliance took so long to make a move. This made the Li family suspicious. Logically speaking, the Northern Medicine Alliance should have formed a storm and swept over the Li family. But now, he just received a plain invitation card. Family head Li, what do you think? This is an invitation personally written by our Northern Medicine Alliance's Alliance Master. You should at least reply so that I can go back and pass on the message. Within the Li family courtyard, a man sat on the high seat with his head held high. Beside him was Li Tianqing, who was carefully reading a gilded invitation in his hand. The signature is Mr. Fu Leichun. As far as I know, Fu Leichun should be an elder of the Northern Medicine Alliance, right? Li Tianqing ignored the other party's question. He heard Li Tianqing's words. The expression of the messenger from the Northern Medicine Alliance changed, and his face turned gloomy. Our old chief is ill and has abdicated. Now, Chief Fu is in charge of the Northern Medicine Alliance. Is there a problem? Oh, no. Whatever you say. Li Tianqing said repeatedly, as if he was afraid of offending the messenger. However, his words made the messenger feel that he was being perfunctory and disregarded. Li Tianqing didn't seem to care about his words at all. The attitude of these people from the Li family seemed to be quite arrogant. He was a messenger from the Northern Medicine Alliance. How dare they be so disrespectful to him? In such a small city like Luoxia City, there was actually a family with such a big temper. They were really short-sighted and did not know how to curry favor with him. This is an invitation card. Next time, it will be a letter of challenge. Family Headley, please think carefully. In addition, Family Headley, you must give an explanation for the matter of Deputy Chief Shang Quan. Otherwise, this matter will not be so simple. The messenger said lightly. The threat in his eyes was very obvious. Huh? What? What's the next time? Li Tianqing seemed to be a little hard of hearing. He had to repeat the same sentence twice. A letter of challenge. Li Tianqing, don't put on an act in front of me. You know very well what your Li family has done. Now, either you obediently follow me back to Northern Medicine City, or I'll let our people from the Northern Medicine Alliance stay in Luoxia City for a few days. Obviously, the Northern Medicine Alliance had undergone a great change of personnel. But the abdication of the chief should be replaced by the deputy chief. Now that the deputy chief was missing, there had to be an explanation. As long as Li Tianqing was taken away, they could give an explanation, whether it was to be a scapegoat or to prove it casually. Then, the Li family would be lost. The consequences of killing a deputy chief would not be so simple. What's going on? Just when Li Tianqing was about to continue playing dumb, a voice sounded from outside the house. Hearing this voice, everyone turned their heads to look at the source of the voice. Li Zongjiu walked in from outside the house. When he just came back, he heard that someone from the Northern Medicine Alliance had come. Regardless of whether they were here to settle scores or to do something else, Li Zongjiu did not care. Were you the one who slammed the table just now? Li Zongjiu looked at the messenger from the Northern Medicine Alliance. This messenger had some status in the Northern Medicine Alliance, and he was now Fu Chunlei's trusted aide. After Fu Chunlei ascended to the position, a lowly person like him naturally rose to the heavens. Now that he came to Luoxia City to show off, he found that the people from the Li family were either stupid or dumb. After all this time, it turned out that they were just pretending to be dumb. This made him very angry. Now, a junior had come in. And he was very rude. Pointing at me? Does he have any seniority? How can I let a kid interrupt when the adults are talking? Moreover, I didn't slam the table just now. I didn't, the messenger said. Throw him out. My Li family's table is not something you can casually slam. Li Zongjiu said directly. As soon as he finished speaking, Gu Xuanwu had already stood up. In an instant, he came in front of the messenger. Before the messenger could quibble, he was directly grabbed and thrown out. Plop! The messenger fell to the ground in a daze. Although he was a trusted aide, his strength was not flattering. In front of Li Tianqing and the others, he was considered powerful. But in front of Gu Xuanwu, it was a piece of cake. He easily threw the messenger out. Seeing Li Zongjiu appear, Gu Xuanwu did not say anything. As soon as this guy came in, that arrogant look on his face showed that he wanted to throw him out of the room. But Li Tianqing did not give the order, so he could only continue to delay. You! Why did you cause trouble as soon as you came back? That is the messenger of the Northern Medicine Alliance. Li Tianqing saw Li Zongjiu's recklessness and could not help but say anxiously. Oh! The Northern Medicine Alliance. Li Zongjiu seemed to have suddenly realized. The messenger who was thrown to the ground also climbed up with his hands on his waist. You wait for me. Since he is from the Northern Medicine Alliance, just arrest him. Li Zongjiu said. Immediately, the guards of the Li family stepped forward and grabbed the messenger. How dare you? Li Tianqing, you are really bold. Your Li family will die. Chapter 125. The result was obvious. The messenger from the Northern Medicine Alliance was not only thrown into the dungeon, but he was also severely beaten. He wanted to show this guy the power of the whip. The Northern Medicine Alliance sent me such an invitation. They obviously want me to take the blame. Li Tianqing said. It's just the Northern Medicine Alliance. After some time, these people will either come to apologize in person or directly destroy them. Li Zhongjiu glanced at the invitation in his hand. It was not an invitation. It was clearly written in a commanding tone. It was directly torn apart by Li Zhongjiu. Zhongjiu, you're so young. Why are you so murderous? Li Tianqing could not help but frown. With a personality like that, if one day you really meet a tough opponent, you'll probably be the one who'll be in trouble. How can there be a war without bloodshed? Since father gave me this name, I will do it. Li Zhongjiu said directly. These words made Li Tianqing speechless. After that, Li Zhongjiu chatted with Li Tianqing for a while about the development of the Li family's business recently. When he heard that Bai Luoxue had led the Li and Bai family's troops into the Huangyuan mine and even fought against the 3 mounted bandits, Li Zhongjiu was stunned by her ruthless methods. Although both sides suffered a lot of losses. Through such a battle, they also showed their firm stand. It also let the people in Flying Cloud City, who were close by, know the power of the Li family and the Bai family. The families in this small Luoxia city were just a group of mobs, but such a situation happened. For a time, some of the forces that wanted to bully the Li family stopped in their tracks. In their hearts, they had to carefully weigh their options. After all, no one wanted to provoke a tough bone. By the way, your grandfather's birthday is in half a month's time. I've already prepared everything. You can go over first and make the arrangements. There have been so many things going on recently. I'll go over on the same day. Li Zhongjiu's grandfather lived in a small town called Guanxi Town, which was more than 4,000 li west of Luoxia City. In the past, Li Zhongjiu had also headed west. Eventually, he found the love of his life in Guanxi Town, who was Li Zhongjiu's mother. After his rebirth, Li Zhongjiu had not seen his mother for a long time. Thinking back, although his mother was strict with Li Zhongjiu, whoever dared to say anything bad about Li Zhongjiu would grab a rolling pin and rush out of the kitchen. He gave the other party and his father a good beating. All right. Li Zhongjiu said. He was not going alone this time. There was a carriage full of silk, gold, silver, and jewelry that would be transported by carriage. In addition to the guards in charge of transportation, Gu Man also set off with Li Zhongjiu. Li Gue was also the leader of the Li family guards. Since they had seen the young master's ability, there was no one in the Li family who did not admire Li Zhongjiu. No one did not want to work beside their young master. Maybe they could be taught a thing or two. Before they left, Li Zhongjiu also came to the Li family's alchemy hall. These days, Wang Jing had been living quite comfortably. However, the alchemy disciples below him had suffered one by one. However, these people were surprisingly obedient. They even had a sense of blind worship for Wang Jing. Others did not dare to imagine that such a situation would occur. However, Li Zhongjiu had expected it. Wang Jing was not bragging. Back then, Wang Jing had really been to the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion of the dynasty. However, it was the trip to the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion that awakened Wang Jing's talent in alchemy. This was because there were some things that were not known to outsiders. In short, they were jealous. With the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle in charge of the family, Li Zhongjiu was absolutely assured. Even if the people from Northern Medicine City wanted to kill their way in, they would have to invite an expert like Chue Oren. Only then would it be possible for them to exterminate the Li family. However, it would be especially easy to invite a Sky Origin ancestor like Chue Oren to help. It took nearly 10 days to reach Guanxi Town from Luoxia City. Traveling 400 miles in a day was considered relatively fast for a journey of 4,000 miles. Although the journey was long, it was also full of challenges. Li Zhongjiu was not worried. If there were really people who did not know what was going on, he would just kill them directly. He could also use this opportunity to study it properly. Ancient Golden Tyrant Body Technique, Baishin Fu. What kind of origin technique was hidden in the blood dragon's origin soul? Li Zongjiu was extremely curious. Every single one of these was a top-notch existence. The method of charging to the saint level with 4 dragons is correct. However, forcefully merging the strength that the 4 great dragon souls have already cultivated is naturally something that I will not be able to endure. If these 4 types of strength had been in my body from the very beginning, and I had cultivated them all by myself, before finally merging them together, this should be the true 4 dragons charging to the saint level. Li Zongjiu had consulted various ancient books in the past. Now, he had finally understood the profound meaning of this. After comprehending this point, Li Zongjiu realized how difficult it was to break through to the saint stage. These 4 dragon soul supremes had already spent their entire lives and efforts to break through to such a realm. If it were Li Zongjiu, he would need at least 4 times as much time and opportunities, or even more. This process was also unimaginable. Let's go to Guanxi town. Li Zongjiu waved his hand. This time, there were 5 carriages and 2 carriages. They moved forward quickly. Generally speaking, 2 carriages would be prepared for a journey. Firstly, it was used to change the route. Secondly, it could also deceive the enemy. During this process, at least the enemy would not be able to distinguish between the real and the fake. In case something like an assassination happened, it could more or less block it. Gu Man was in charge of driving the carriage and walked at the front. As for Li Zongjiu, he was quietly cultivating in the carriage. While cultivating the Baishin Fu, he was also cultivating the ancient Golden Tyrant Body Technique. Li Gui, who was the most experienced, rode a horse and led the way in front. This journey was known as the border of the Tianyan dynasty. It was the largest forest of elemental beasts, called the Blackwater Forest. The entire Blackwater Forest was the territory of the elemental beasts. It was sparsely populated, but because the number of treasures produced was relatively small, it was considered an extremely unpopular place. If one was injured or trapped here, it was estimated that one would not be able to wait for half a day for an adventurer or mercenary to come. Although it was said that they were walking on the border, it was still very easy for accidents to happen in the Blackwater Forest. They had to be extra careful. Chapter 126. The surroundings were pitch black, and the fallen leaves were silent. There was only a bonfire burning quietly, and the crackling of the dried branches brought about some sparks. The flames circled in the sky, then extinguished. Li Zongjiu's team was resting here. Gu Man was lying on a rock, the black wind blowing, and the moonlight shining on his head. Suddenly, he seemed to smell blood in the air. He immediately got up, crawled on the rock, and stared in front of him. He took out the dagger from his chest and stared in front of him. Outside of Luoxia City, it was necessary to bring a defensive weapon. After all, some meta beasts were not strong, but their skin was thick, and their defense was strong. If one did not use a weapon, it would be very difficult to break through their defense. This was not some cruel and bloodthirsty meta beast. It was a small black fox. This is a black crystal fox. Gu Man exclaimed. As someone who had rich experience in fighting in the wild, he was naturally familiar with black crystal foxes. If someone could catch this black crystal fox, it would be equivalent to owning a mansion in a first-tier city. It was a symbol of nobility and mystery. Why is this black crystal fox here? Black crystal foxes only liked to stay in their own caves and rarely came out. Moreover, the places they lived in usually had powerful spiritual creatures. If one could find a black crystal fox, it would be equivalent to finding a heavenly treasure. How could they not be rich? What's going on? It's a black crystal fox. Should we catch it? Li Gui also moved to Gu Man's side. Although his reaction was not as sharp as Gu Man's, he was still the captain of the guards. His intuition told him that something was wrong. When he moved closer to take a look, he also discovered that it was a black crystal fox. Look at what the black crystal fox is holding in its mouth. Gu Man pointed at the black crystal fox. The black crystal fox was holding something in its mouth. Gu Man had little experience in this area. Li Gui immediately saw what the black crystal fox was holding in its mouth. It's white jade crispy bamboo shoots. It has the effect of strengthening bones and tendons, as well as the effect of regenerating muscles. This is a rare spiritual medicine. Li Zongjiu cried out in alarm. At this moment, the black crystal fox seemed to have found the right direction and leaped towards Li Zongjiu. If the creature that had charged into Li Zongjiu's carriage had been a snake or an aggressive meta beast, Li Gui and the others would have already taken action and captured the black crystal fox. However, this black crystal fox seemed to have come to deliver a treasure to them, so they didn't make a move. Instead, they carefully observed it. If Li Zongjiu directly called for help, then they wouldn't hesitate to kill him. However, Li Zongjiu's carriage was completely calm. Not long after, the black crystal fox emerged from the carriage and left the campsite. When Li Gui and Gu Man saw this scene, both of them revealed a trace of shock in each other's eyes. The black crystal fox is giving him a treasure. This is fucking amazing. He had probably never seen such a shocking scene in his entire life. They couldn't help but praise their young master's remarkable abilities. To think that the black crystal fox would actually deliver its treasures to him. Li Zongjiu, who was in the carriage, looked at the black crystal fox. A trace of disbelief appeared in his eyes as he looked at the white jade crispy bamboo shoot in his hand. I didn't expect this white god Fu to have such an effect. It can communicate with all things. This is the true use of mental energy. It can't directly kill people. Although in his previous life, Li Zongjiu had already become the evil lord, in this life, he had been reborn. His cultivation should have improved by leaps and bounds. However, this Li Zongjiu had comprehended something that he hadn't comprehended in his previous life. He also had a deeper understanding of cultivation. Just now, Li Zongjiu had only tried to release his mental energy to the black crystal fox. According to the description of the white god Fu, he had dispersed a summoning intent. However, after waiting for a long time, he didn't see any movement. Just when Li Zongjiu thought that this thing was useless, the black crystal fox delivered its treasure to him. This saved Li Zongjiu a lot of trouble. This is a good method. Just when Li Zongjiu was excitedly trying to cultivate his white god Fu. In the Blackwater Forest. Several figures were hurriedly moving forward. It was here just now. I clearly saw it. That black crystal fox really passed by here with the white jade crispy bamboo shoot in its mouth. One of them said. There was a strange symbol engraved on his clothes. If Li Zongjiu was here, he would definitely recognize that this was the uniform of the Black Zen sect. The entire Black Zen sect was intercepted and killed. They either fled or scattered. Who would have thought that they would reappear in the Blackwater Forest? Trash, you can't even watch a fox. An angry voice scolded. However, this voice's accent wasn't very smooth. It shouldn't be someone from around here. Under the moonlight, one could see that this person had coarse curly hair, a high nose bridge, and azure eyes. The handle of the scimitar in his hand was embedded with a few gems. This was the style of the Outlands. In the Xinyan dynasty, there was still a piece of land that had not been recovered. Due to various reasons, it was left behind. This piece of land was called the Outlands. The people in this Outlands were a mix of good and bad people, and it was filled with chaos. And these people from the Outlands definitely didn't come to the Xinyan dynasty with good intentions. The person from the Black Zen sect was scolded. His expression was obviously not good, but he didn't dare to say anything. At that moment, he could only blame the anger in his heart on the Black Crystal Fox. It was all the Black Crystal Fox's fault for disappearing too quickly. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been scolded. These people from the Outlands were arrogant and despotic. If they were in a bad mood, they might just kill someone. Now that even the Black Zen sect leader had to listen to them, they naturally had nothing to say. Moreover, these people from the Outlands were very strong. Suddenly, a black light flashed in front of him. The person from the Black Zen sect was shocked. There, I see it, the Black Crystal Fox. It's the Black Crystal Fox. The Black Crystal Fox's figure was running at top speed. However, this time, it couldn't escape this disaster. The Outlands expert with the treasured saber pulled out the long saber at his waist and swung it in front of him. Boom! The saber whistled and accurately chopped the Black Crystal Fox's foot. Immediately, a miserable cry was heard. The Black Crystal Fox's foot was directly chopped off. Blood dripped. It curled up in pain. In the next second. Then, he lifted the Black Crystal Fox with one hand. I want to see how this little thing with a broken leg can run now. The Outlands expert, Jin Yu-jun, said with a cruel smile on his face. It was as if he saw the Black Crystal Fox struggling in pain. The happier he was, the more excited he was. Chapter 127. The Black Crystal Fox was caught. The people from the Black Zen sect saw that the Black Crystal Fox's leg had been cut off and cried out in alarm. Aya, this Black Crystal Fox is an expert at finding treasures. If its leg is cut off, how are we going to find the elixir? How are we going to lead the way? You said that if we find this thing, we can find the white jade crispy bamboo shoots. Now you're telling me that we can't find it. Are you playing with me? Jin Yu-jun shouted angrily. The people from the Black Zen sect patiently explained the situation to Jin Yu-jun. Finally, Jin Yu-jun frowned. It's so troublesome to find something. This little thing is already useless. If it's useless, then I'll just kill it. Jin Yu-jun sneered. This Black Crystal Fox was so weak that it could be easily slaughtered. How pitiful. Jin Yu-jun immediately threw the Black Crystal Fox into the sky with his left hand. Firstly, it was to satisfy his anger. Secondly, it was to let the people from the Black Zen sect know that he, Jin Yu-jun, was powerful. It was time to show them his power. This way, they wouldn't dare to act recklessly and would know what it meant to be obedient. Just as Jin Yu-jun was about to pull out his blade, he realized that the Black Crystal Fox above his head had disappeared. It disappeared. Did it grow wings and fly away? Suddenly, Jin Yu-jun's body felt a trace of vigilance. It was an extremely dangerous aura that was being released. Jin Yu-jun, who had fought on the battlefield for many years and climbed out of piles of corpses, immediately felt the dense killing intent. What? Although Jin Yu-jun was vigilant, he didn't react in time. There was already someone standing behind him. Even with his back facing the person, Jin Yu-jun could clearly feel the killing intent in the eyes of the person behind him. It was a killing intent that could truly kill. If Jin Yu-jun dared to act recklessly, the person behind him would definitely kill him. Who is it? The four people from the Black Zen sect also saw the figure that suddenly appeared. When did this person appear behind them? They didn't notice at all. It was too scary. Fortunately, this person was standing behind Jin Yu-jun. Did you chop off this Black Crystal Fox's leg? A voice rang in Jin Yu-jun's ears. However, Jin Yu-jun had a feeling that this voice came from the Nine Serenities Hell. Cold sweat trickled down his back. Based on Jin Yu-jun's judgment, he only had one chance to draw his blade. Friend, I'm from Qingyuan Villa. If you have anything to say, let's talk nicely. Li Zhongzhou's eyes turned cold. In the next instant, he flicked his finger and a stream of yuan energy shot towards Jin Yu-jun's ear. By the time Jin Yu-jun realized what was going on, Li Zhongzhou directly cut off half of the ear. Ah! Damn it! Anger flashed in Jin Yu-jun's eyes. The piercing pain in his ears was unbearable. At the same time, Jin Yu-jun was also looking for an opportunity to strike. Looks like you're the one who did it. Then leave your leg behind. Li Zongjiu said calmly. Jin Yujun was shocked. Kill him for me. Jin Yujun shouted. At the same time, he reached for the long blade at his waist. The action of unsheathing the long blade had been practiced countless times. However, when he used it this time, he realized that something was wrong. Because there was nothing on his waist. A wave of fear came from his heart. Jin Yujun immediately realized what was going on. At the same time, his body rushed forward. However, Li Zongjiu had already swung his blade down. Shua! Jin Yojuan's legs were left on the ground. His thighs fell to the ground with a thud. My leg! Jin Yujun roared in pain. The yuan energy in his body immediately wrapped around the wound. He knew the sharpness of his 7-star treasure blade. At this moment, even if he wanted to escape, he had no legs to run to. He could only watch as his legs were still in front of him. Go! Kill him! The 4 people from the Black Zen sect were about to charge towards Li Zongjiu when they saw a dozen figures suddenly appear from the darkness. The leader was as strong as an ox. He did not fear any blade or spear as he charged forward. His fist exerted force and instantly smashed one of the Black Zen sect experts to the ground. Bang! The Black Zen sect member immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. His mind was in chaos. Gu Man roared like a beast that had just escaped from its cage. An ambush. However, it was already too late. Li Zongjiu led his men out of the darkness. The 3 people were already frightened by Li Zongjiu's invincible might. Now that so many people had appeared to ambush them, none of them dared to resist. He was pinned to the ground in no time. Li Zongjiu glanced at the black crystal fox in his arms. At this moment, the black crystal fox had already lost its life due to excessive blood loss. Even though Li Zongjiu had more than 3,000 years of experience, and even though he had already seen through life and death, he was still extremely furious when he saw such a situation. If you kill me, you will become an enemy of Qingyuan Villa. Jin Yujun said in a deep voice. At this moment, he used his yuan power to seal the wound. Although it temporarily reduced the pain to a minimum, the shock he felt when he saw his own legs in front of him was indescribable. He could only temporarily suppress the anger and shock in his heart. At the same time, he had to stay awake. Right now, the most important thing was to survive. He could not die like this. Only by living could he take revenge. Qingyuan Villa. When they heard the name of Qingyuan Villa, whether it was Gu Man or Li Gui, both of them were shocked in their hearts because the reputation of the Qingyuan Villa was too great. In the entire Xingyan dynasty, it was a famous existence. This was because the owner of Qingyuan Villa was the current first prince of the dynasty, King Qingyuan. This so-called first prince was one of the younger brothers of the emperor. However, the title of first prince meant that his cultivation was the strongest. Among all the princes, King Qingyuan was the most powerful. Furthermore, he was a genuine Yuan monarch powerhouse. A living Yuan monarch powerhouse could be said to be invincible. Moving mountains and filling seas was a piece of cake for them. Ascending to the top in a single bound was not a difficult task for them. Unexpectedly, in such a remote Blackwater forest, he actually met King Qingyuan's subordinate. Since he was a member of Qingyuan Villa, he could not be casually killed by an outsider. If that was the case, where would King Qingyuan put his face? Oh. Qingyuan Villa. Was it that idiot Villa who wanted to rebel but was killed without leaving a single piece of armor behind? You are the only one who treats it as a treasure. Li Zongjiu recalled. Qingyuan Villa was indeed quite famous in his previous life. However, the owner of Qingyuan Villa was really a fool. He thought that he had recruited some experts and won over some people's hearts. He even wanted to be the Wulin Alliance's leader or something. However, in the end, he wanted to rebel. In just one night, the experts of Qingyuan Manor were all either dead or injured. At the same time, a big fire burned Qingyuan Villa for 7 days and 7 nights. During the burning period, no one dared to put out the fire. Those were hellish screams. There were also cries for help that filled the air above Qingyuan Villa. In short, the outcome was very tragic. How could the dignity of the imperial family be so easily shaken? Therefore, Li Zongjiu mocked the person in front of him. Since you are from Qingyuan Villa, then I will do you a favor and send you on your way. Li Zongjiu's voice fell. He directly chopped down with his long saber. Swoosh! 2 slashes. Clean and neat. He directly chopped off Jin Youjun's hand. Ah! Jin Youjun immediately shouted loudly. This kind of pain was simply heart-wrenching. The most important thing was, when his arms were chopped off, it immediately caused a gap to appear in his body. The origin energy in his body could no longer be gathered. Instantly, the pain of his hands and legs being chopped off directly attacked his heart. This made Jin Youjun hover between life and death in pain. Li Zongjiu lowered his body and buried the black crystal fox in front of Jin Youjun's body. Jin Youjun couldn't move at all. He wanted to fall down but found that he couldn't. The 4 of you, watch him die. If not, you will die with him. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Chapter 128. In the end, the 4 people from the Black Zen sect all knelt around Jin Youjun. They stared at Jin Youjun. If Jin Youjun didn't die, they would be the ones to die. They didn't know where these people came from. Jin Youjun, who had the strength of a grade 6 Yuan master. He couldn't resist at all. This young man was terrifyingly powerful. Li Zongjiu and the others were already far away. Li Zongjiu felt extremely regretful that the black crystal fox was killed. After all, he had just established a spiritual connection with it. But now it was killed. Therefore, Li Zongjiu was the first to know. He had just understood the charm of the white god Fu. But it wasn't a pity, because Li Zongjiu had already avenged him. Young master. Aren't we going to kill them? These people seem to be from the Black Zen sect. Li Gui said in a low voice. Ever since the incident with Li Changjiang, news of the Black Zen sect had spread throughout the Li family. Everyone had to be extra careful. If they found traces of the Black Zen sect, they had to be extra careful. Although he knew that the young master had his own plans, how could the young master not think of what he could think of? Hee, don't worry. They won't live past tonight. Let's continue on our way. After such a battle, they were all very excited. Since that was the case, they might as well set off directly to avoid wasting time on the road. Li Zongjiu and the others were driving the carriage, so they were naturally slower. By the time Li Tianqing set out, he would be riding at full speed or in some other way. A distance of 4,000 miles was not a long distance. The 4 people from the Black Zen sect knelt here. They looked at Jin Youjun, whose 4 limbs were all cut off. At this moment, Jin Youjun could no longer speak. He could only open his mouth and whimper. To be honest, to be able to hold on until now without losing consciousness was already very impressive. Seeing the pain on Jin Youjun's face and the broken limbs in front of them, the impact made the 4 Black Zen sect members shudder in fear. The rumbling sound of carriage wheels came from afar. They looked at each other. They had been kneeling here for at least an hour. Those people must have had the leisure to hide behind them and spy on them. Coupled with the sound of the wheels turning, they must have left. They should have left, right? Even if they didn't leave, they should be somewhere far away. We just have to hurry and rush into the Blackwater Forest. That's right. As long as we enter the forest, we won't be afraid of anything. Let's split up first and regroup when it's safe. All right. The 4 of them whispered. Jin Youjun was still alive, but he was ready to die at any time. It didn't matter if Jin Youjun died. After all, he was the one who wanted to hurt the little fox. It had nothing to do with them. The most important thing was that they had to try their best to survive. Immediately, the four of them counted to 3 and abruptly dashed off in 4 different directions. However, the moment they stood up, they regretted it. They realized that they had nowhere to go. Around them, there were already over 100 starving black water wolves staring at them in the darkness. At this moment, as soon as they moved, hundreds of black water wolves suddenly rushed out from the darkness. This kind of momentum was like a tide. A devouring torrent from the darkness rushed towards them. Although these people from the Black Zen sect were fierce, everyone's strength was around the level of a first-grade Yuan master. However, after kneeling for so long, their bones were already weak. In addition, these black water wolves were ferocious. In just a few minutes, they couldn't resist anymore. I hate it. I shouldn't have gotten up. The figures of the blackwater wolves drowned these people. Hundreds of hungry wolves devoured the 5 corpses clean. There were still some skulls with bits of flesh left. They were left on the ground. Li Zhongjiu and the others, who were far away, heard the cries of the blackwater wolves. Hearing this, Li Gui and the others felt their scalps go numb. At this moment, they hadn't gone far. In addition, after some identification, they guessed that these wolf howls came from the place just now. They didn't expect the young master to have such an ability to summon a pack of wolves. Could it be that the young master was the reincarnation of the king of the forest? In his heart, Li Gui had already labeled Li Zhongjiu with a few strange labels, but none of them were symbols of mysticism. The convoy continued to move forward slowly. Along the way, there were many times when they met some fellows who came to block their way. Li Zhongjiu also instructed to just give them money and send them away. If they could solve the problem with money, they would try their best not to use violence. That would waste too much energy. If they were covered in blood, they would have to take a bath and wash their clothes. In addition, the Li family was like the sun in the sky, and their wealth was rolling in. This money was not a problem at all. At the same time, with Li Gui and Gu Man, 2 great experts, these bandits did not dare to act recklessly. After receiving the money, they obediently left. The journey was more than 10 days, and it could be said that they were travel-worn. They were only 300 miles away from Guanxi town. In 1 more day, they would be able to arrive. Over the past few days, Li Zhongjiu had gained a lot of experience in this aspect of cultivation. The blood dragon origin spirit must have a Yuan formula hidden in it. However, with Li Zhongjiu's current level, he was still unable to touch it. Therefore, Li Zhongjiu simply focused on studying these 2 aspects. It seems that after the situation here settles down, I have to go out and gain experience. There are still some things that I need to snatch. Li Zhongjiu thought in his heart. Although he might not be able to recall the memories of his previous life clearly. However, Li Zhongjiu still remembered some of the more important things. For Li Zhongjiu, the time and place of some heavenly treasures could be obtained in advance. It was also a good opportunity to try and see if he could enter the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. He had to study it well. With Li Zhongjiu's previous life's experience, he speculated that there must be some hidden secret in the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Therefore, he had to find it. Li Zhongjiu had already reached other realms. He only needed time to restore his realm. However, that was Yao Yao's indefinite saint realm. Li Zhongjiu still had to try hard. If there were no challenges and pursuits in life, everything would become meaningless. Suddenly, Li Zhongjiu's carriage shook violently. With a boom, one of the wheels of the carriage was directly blown off. Bang! The carriage flipped over and fell to the ground. Even Gu Man, who was in charge of driving, fell to the ground. Enemy attack! Li Gui turned around and saw that the young master's carriage had been blown over. How could this be? Moreover, this should have been an ambush. There should have been a hidden bomb buried under the ground early on. To be able to get such a thing, one must not have an ordinary background. This was because only the dynasty had such a thing. If one used it privately, it would be against the law. Autumn wind of Mount Mang is here. Guys, kill them. Leave the women and their belongings behind. Don't let anyone else go. Chapter 129. Mang Mountain's Autumn Wind General. This name sounded a little funny. However, the people living near Guanxi town were extremely fearful of General Chiu Feng of Mount Mang. The road they were on was called Mang Mountain. And this Autumn Wind General. He was the self-proclaimed king of this generation. He was extremely cruel and merciless. His men were called the Autumn Wind Army. Wherever the Autumn Wind Army passed, not even a blade of grass would grow. This person by the name of Chiu Feng Jiang, not only did he possess frightening strength, more importantly, he had connections with this person. It was said that he had connections with the guard mansion of Guanxi town. The guard mansion was the headquarters of the armed forces in this town. The firearms provided by some empires were also secretly provided to General Chiu Feng by the House of Guardians. This kind of underground trade had existed for a long time. Officials colluded with bandits. As a result, the people of Guanxi town were living in an abyss of suffering. Some caravans that were not strong enough, or if they were not prepared, would be severely injured by the autumn wind of Mount Mang and suffer heavy losses. Usually, those who knew the rules would prepare the women and jewelry in advance and send them over directly to inform them. Li Gui and the others obviously did not know the rules here. Therefore, the Autumn Wind Army was prepared to kill one to warn the others. Once in a while, a murder would let the people around know that the Autumn Wind Army's strength was not undeserved. If they had real strength, they had to make a name for themselves. Only then would people be afraid of them in the future. This was Autumn Wind General's idea. Li Zongjiu came out of the carriage. The guards of the Li family also gathered together. A rain of arrows came from the enemy. The guards of the Li family immediately looked for cover to block the arrows. Arrows flew in the air. Gu Man let out a low roar, and directly tore down a piece of wood from the broken carriage. Using it as a shield, he rushed towards the group of archers. Ding! 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 The wooden board was shot like a hedgehog. Gu Man approached and suddenly threw out the wooden board in his hand. At the same time, his ferocious hand grabbed the nearest archer. Get out of my way. The archer was like a little chick as he was flung away. He smashed into a rock, causing a comminuted fracture. He could no longer get up. Gu Man, who had rushed into the group of archers, was like a wolf in a flock of sheep, showing off his invincible might. Even General Chiu Feng's eyes lit up when he saw the valiant Gu Man in the distance. At such a time, the braver one was, the greater the chance of breaking out. The more one hid, the more miserable the outcome would be. It would be easier for them to be killed. This was an unchanging law. Therefore, one should never be afraid of death on the battlefield. Take that brat down. Chiu Feng saw Li Zongjiu who had just poked his head out. This guy looked clean and was well protected by these guards. He must be an important person. This group of people didn't seem to be easy to deal with. Every one of them was well trained. Facing the enemy, they didn't panic at all. Obviously, they were experienced. This gave General Chiu Feng a headache. However, now that he was an arrow that had left the bow, there was no way to take it back. No matter how stubborn he was, he had to take him down. Under General Chiu Feng's command, 3 people immediately galloped forward. These 3 people held long spears and formed a triangular charging formation. From this, it could be seen that they were well-trained and very experienced experts. Li Gui quickly locked onto the 3 enemies that were charging at him. The other party quickly approached. Fire the crossbow. Li Gui ordered. Suddenly, a guard pushed out a crossbow from the group of people. This kind of crossbow was also a mechanical weapon. As long as you could make it, you could use it. Often in the process of battle, the ballista was a very destructive defensive weapon. A series of arrows were shot out. Out of the 3 horses, 2 of them were immediately shot down. The last person was already less than 20 meters away from Li Gui and the others. Li Gui was already holding a sharp sword in his hand. His figure rushed forward, ready to fight with this person. However, he saw that person's foot tapped, and his figure rose into the air, somersaulting several times in the air. The tip of the spear was pointed downwards. Like a poisonous dragon drilling, it slashed down towards Li Zongjiu's head. Not good. Li Gui wanted to block this person. This person's move was extraordinary. The surrounding elemental energy surged with an extremely sharp aura. However, 2 waves of energy attacked from behind. The 2 people who had fallen off their horses just now had caught up. The Li family's guards were also exchanging blows with a large number of bandits. There were shouts and screams everywhere. Take my spear. Sky-piercing thunder spear. This was a 2nd-grade elemental skill. This person was also a 4th-grade elemental master. As for Li Zongjiu's cultivation, when he was in Wuxue Pil sect, he was already a 6th-grade elemental master. A few days ago, he had also experienced a breakthrough. Now, he was an 8th-grade elemental master. When the other party's attack landed, although the surging lightning energy in the surroundings did indeed give people a sense of nervousness, it was still not enough. However, in front of Li Zongjiu, it was just child's play. Young master, be careful. Li Gui roared. The eyes of the person who descended from the sky flashed with a cold light. Your young master is dead for sure. In the next moment, the elemental energy in his body surged wildly, exploding along the tip of the spear. Like a lightning snake, it blasted towards Li Zongjiu. When the lightning appeared, the power of the sky-piercing thunder had already arrived in front of Li Zongjiu. Boom! Li Zongjiu's body suddenly exploded violently. Dust filled the air. Gravel filled with intense energy shot out. Pfft! A figure directly spat out blood and flew backwards. Qiu Fengjiang, who was on a distant hillside, saw this scene and immediately widened his eyes. Qiu Fengjiang was wearing iron armor and a golden helmet. This attire, at the same time, showed that Qiu Fengjiang was a self-proclaimed general. What's going on? Qiu Fengjiang couldn't understand. Didn't his subordinate use his ultimate move to directly kill Li Zongjiu? Why did he fly backwards and spit out blood? Just as Qiu Fengjiang continued to stare at his subordinate in front of him, he realized that his subordinate's figure was flying towards him in a strange way and trajectory. Boom! Not good, stop him! Qiu Fengjiang immediately roared, but it was too late. The subordinate directly crashed into Qiu Fengjiang, and a long spear pierced through his stomach. Qiu Fengjiang was knocked off his horse, and his stomach was directly pierced through by a long spear. General, what happened to you? General. Seeing this, the surrounding people immediately jumped off their horses and came to Qiu Fengjiang's side. However, Qiu Fengjiang was indifferent. This spear directly took away his life. His internal organs had already been shattered. Qiu Fengjiang fell off his horse. Everyone was shocked. At this moment, a young voice came from the battlefield below. Kill them all. Chapter 130. There were rules in Jianghu. If everyone abided by the rules, the situation would naturally calm down. However, there were often people who liked to break the rules and act recklessly with their self-righteous strength. Therefore, Li Zongjiu didn't show any mercy to such people who didn't abide by the rules and didn't care about morality. He immediately killed Qiu Fengjiang. Even with Qiu Fengjiang's heavy armor and his strength as a 5th-grade Yuan master, he was unable to dodge the spear. In such a small place, such strength and military strength was enough to establish an entire family. However, these people just had to occupy this place and do such cruel and bloody things. Since Li Zongjiu was here, he had to take care of these people. He was not chivalrous. Li Zongjiu was not a very righteous person. For his own benefit, he could kill people. However, he was not a bad person. At the very least, Li Zongjiu had his own principles. The name of evil lord was not fabricated out of thin air. With young master Li Zongjiu's order and the killing of the enemy's leader, the morale of this side was greatly boosted. Although there were only a dozen guards. Previously, these guards had been trained by old master Gu Xuanwu. As a result, they were able to reach a state where they could cooperate with each other tacitly. At the same time, the most important thing was that they were not afraid of killing. Only real blood and the flames of war could make people grow. Therefore, Li Zongjiu was quite satisfied with these guards. At the very least, they did not panic. Immediately, Li Gui led the guards to counterattack. On the other side, Gu Man was also fighting to his heart's content, restraining all the archers. Only someone like Gu Man could become an overlord in the future with such a ferocious aura. Li Zongjiu thought in his heart. From the beginning, the foundation had been laid. Gu Man was not afraid of battle at all. Like a brave vanguard general, he rushed to the forefront of the battlefield and tore apart the enemy's formation. In the end, the Qiu Fengjiang army was completely defeated. After losing their backbone, these people ran away. They threw away their armor along the way. The guards of the Li family were covered in blood, and the swords in their hands were chipped like teeth. This was a true blood-soaked battle. More than 100 people were lying on the ground. With only a dozen or so people, they actually managed to kill their way out of the encirclement of nearly 300 people. At the same time, they also managed to defeat the more than 300 people. After leaving over 100 corpses behind, they immediately fled. On the other hand, although a few of the Li family's guards were heavily injured, their lives weren't in danger. Basically, everyone was injured. This was definitely a complete victory. When he returned from here, he could brag to his heart's content. Of course, Li Zongjiu had also killed many people. Otherwise, there was no guarantee that some of these people would lose their lives. The seriously injured are lying on the carriages. The lightly injured continue to maintain the formation. We will leave this place first. Li Gui's back was also slashed 3 times. If it wasn't for Li Zongjiu's intervention, the two masters would have chopped Li Gui into pieces long ago. The power of a master origin realm cultivator was too strong. Although he was injured, Li Gui did not panic and did not fall down. That was how he calmly issued his orders. On this point, even Li Zongjiu nodded inwardly. These 2 carriages were directly damaged in the battle just now. The other carriage was even more miserable. It was directly shot into a hedgehog. "Young master, get on the horse," Li Gui said. He couldn't possibly let the young lord walk while he rode the horse. Therefore, Li Gui gave his horse to the young lord. This little fellow's performance just now was very good. This horse really followed its master. If Li Gui was panicking just now, then this horse would naturally be frightened and run around in all directions. But just now, the horse was standing there obediently and even helped Li Gui kick away an enemy. No need. Let the injured brothers get on the horses, Li Zongjiu said. After saying that, he walked forward by himself. Looking at the back of his young master, Li Gui's heart was filled with indescribable admiration. He was powerful, young and promising, and also very kind. Last time, the family's guards were killed. They directly killed their way into the other party's nest and heavily injured the people of Flying Cloud City's Su family. They killed several elders and even killed their family's head, making the Su family compensate. This also completely shocked the forces of Flying Cloud City. Therefore, the forces of Flying Cloud City did not dare to act recklessly. After all, they still had some influence. Clans that could surpass the Su clan might not be able to stop the Li clan's meta beast. After all, the Li clan's old ancestor was killed directly. The outcome was imaginable. The other party might have even more terrifying means. Otherwise, why would they be so arrogant? Even now, when the Li family's forces moved in, the city lord's mansion of Flying Cloud City also made way for them. They did not dare to offend them directly. At the very least, before they truly understood the situation, they would not deliberately make things difficult for them. "Little Yun, get on the horse," Li Gui said. He pointed at a relatively young guard and asked him to get on the horse. A large piece of flesh was cut off from the guard's leg, but only a simple bandage was applied. It was impossible for him to walk. Little Cloud didn't even have the chance to refuse before she was carried onto the warhorse by two of her teammates. The group moved forward again. The carriage with the goods was not attacked. After all, these people would deliberately avoid these goods. Sometimes, people would transport some priceless antiques and fragile things. If there was any damage, the loss would be great. "You have to kill 10,000 people in order to master your fist technique," said Qin Wentian. Seeing Gu Man walk over, he opened his mouth and said, "What? Kill 10,000 people? Impossible, impossible. I'm not a homicidal maniac." Gu Man shook his head repeatedly. When Li Zongjiu heard this, he smiled but did not say anything. 10,000 people. This guy would definitely be a great killing machine in the future. The people he killed would be more than 10,000. Because this battle had also delayed a little. Therefore, they just arrived at Guanxi town that night. Although Luoxia city was small, it was still a city. The city wall was 150 feet high. It could more or less defend against the enemy. However, in Guanxi town, the so-called city wall was just an earthen wall. Some parts of it had even fallen off. Li Zongjiu's grandfather was a local rich man in this town. Although it was night, it was difficult to resist the smell of blood that permeated Li Zongjiu and his men. After going through a bloody battle, they appeared to be in a sorry state on the surface. However, the eyes of these guards were as sharp as knives, warning others not to approach. Otherwise, they would be attacked. Therefore, one by one, they took a detour. "Stop, who are you?" An ignorant guard did not see the hint in his boss's eyes. He just habitually wanted to extort a sum of money. He directly walked out and stopped Li Zongjiu and his men. Chapter 131. When this person walked out, the atmosphere at the scene became extremely strange. That person looked as if he had just woken up. When he looked carefully at the group of people in front of him, he realized that something was wrong. None of the people in front of him seemed easy to deal with. But now, he had already said those harsh words. If he wanted to take them back, it would be impossible. Moreover, it would be a very shameful thing. Cough, cough. "That, we need to pay taxes to enter the pass." The soldier coughed a few times, and his tone softened a little. He looked at his companions. They seemed to be sitting on the ground, frightened by the other party's aura. "How much?" Li Gui walked out and said in a deep voice. He stared at the person in front of him. After seeing Li Gui's eyes, the soldier's heart trembled violently. In fact, these soldiers could only be considered as military ruffians. They were recruited on the spot by the local guard office. They did not even need to go through much training. They just put on the uniform and went to work directly. The people they recruited were local bullies and hooligans. They were best at bullying ordinary people. But when he saw Li Gui in front of him and the murderous eyes of these guards, he knew that this matter would not be resolved so easily. It was not easy to take money from these people in front of him. "Everyone, 1 silver coin." He wanted to say 5 silver coins out of habit to extort a sum of money. But when the words came to his mouth, he immediately changed his words. He did not dare to say it again. If he said it out loud, it would be over. Ding! Li Gui tossed out a gold coin. This gold coin was equivalent to 100 silver coins. "Keep the change." The soldier took the money and almost did not dare to believe his eyes. Just by opening his mouth, he was able to obtain a gold coin. When he was here, not only would he not be able to get his monthly salary, it would also be deducted. Even if he did get it, the price would not be so high. It was quite good to be able to save a gold coin in 3 months. The sudden happiness made the soldier unable to come back to his senses. Let me ask you, where is old Master Shen's home? Li Gui continued to ask. Old Master Shen. The soldier was stunned at first, then he tried to recall. Which old man Shen? At the same time, he sized up Li Gui and the others. Master Shen Chuanqiu. What is your relationship with the Shen family? When the guard heard this, his expression immediately changed. At the same time, he became nervous. He deliberately raised his voice so that the people behind him could hear him and let his companions know what was going on here. The Shen family? When he heard these words, the guard captain behind him immediately stood up. The situation at the scene once again became strange. The air was filled with the smell of gunpowder. The guard captain whispered a few words to the person beside him. The person beside him nodded and quickly ran away. Where are you from? What are you doing in Guanxi town? The captain of the guards pushed aside the guards in front of him and came in front of Li Gui. The guards behind him were also waiting solemnly. If it was in the past, the guards of the Li family might have been a little nervous. Everyone had their swords drawn and bows bent, confronting each other for a while. But now, these people only raised their eyelids and looked at these people with sneers. If their young master gave the order, it would only take 3 minutes for these people's heads to be taken away. Even though they had not made a move yet, they still felt uneasy when they saw the look in these people's eyes. What I'm asking is where old man Shen's house is. Li Gui said. After following Li Zongjiu for a long time, his attitude towards these things had changed. When he saw these people's actions, he knew that something was wrong. Not far away, a large group of people was rushing over. When the captain of the guards heard the commotion in front of him, he turned around to take a look and smiled in his heart. When he turned around, he suddenly realized that there was another figure in front of him. Fuck, you fucking. Before he could finish speaking, Li Zongjiu grabbed the guard captain's neck. Tell me, what happened to the Shen family? How dare you? The voice of the guard that Li Zongjiu was pointing at immediately became sharp. Take him down. Li Gui shouted. The Li family guards behind him who were only slightly injured immediately drew their swords and attacked. Chi! 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 When they got close, they directly stabbed their thighs. The dozen guards in front of them were all taken down in the blink of an eye. Gu Man chased after a few of them who had escaped further away. He punched them one by one and sent them flying to the ground. They were definitely seriously injured. When such a tyrannical fist force was displayed, how many thin and weak bodies could withstand it? This was especially true for these good-for-nothings who only knew how to wear such clothes to scare people. The face of the guard captain, whose throat was gripped by Li Zongjiu, had already turned purple. He was forced to the point that he could not breathe. Crack! Li Zongjiu's 5 fingers exerted a little force and immediately broke the neck of the guard in front of him. The only guard who wasn't attacked was the one who had taken the money at the beginning. He stood in his original spot, and even the saber at his waist was only half drawn. He didn't dare to draw it out anymore. If he pulled it out, the situation would be dangerous. He could only watch helplessly as his captain of the guards died right in front of his eyes. He could not believe his eyes. No matter what, it was still the same. Wearing this uniform, he was also a member of the dynasty. Killing a soldier of the dynasty in the street like this, he would have to go to jail. How dare you kill a regular soldier of the dynasty in the street? I am the first military governor of Guanxi town, Ma Yuanshan. I am ordered to catch the murderer. Take him down. The person who came was full of confidence. He was actually a Yuan Qi master. His cultivation had already reached the level of a 5th grade Yuan master. Those who held important positions in this dynasty's organization had to have some real ability. Otherwise, even if the people below couldn't suppress them, the people above couldn't hide from them either. Therefore, to be able to hold the position of the first military governor, one must have some real ability. Ma Yuanshan waved his hand and immediately the people behind him swarmed forward. Li Zhongjiu and the others were heavily surrounded. Li Gui and the others were not clear about the situation, but it seemed that something had happened in old Master Shin's mansion. Li Zhongjiu's eyes were filled with killing intent. He looked at Ma Yuanshan. Ma Yuanshan had brought people to kill them aggressively. But he did not expect that the eyes of the young man in front of him were still as bright as the stars even in the dark night. His gaze was as if he could see through him. I will give you 3 breaths to tell me about the Shin family. Otherwise, I will take your head. Chapter 132. I want your head. It had been many years since he heard such arrogant words. Ma Yuanshan had already been in this area for so many years and he had already subdued all the gangsters and bandits in the surrounding mountains. Yet, this little brat in front of him actually dared to utter such ruthless words. If it weren't for the fact that there were so many people behind him and that he was a veteran of hundreds of battles, he would probably be scared. She would probably be scared out of her wits. There are so many people who want my head. Why haven't I seen any of them yet? Come if you have the ability. I'll leave my head here. Ma Yuanshan laughed loudly. 3 breaths have passed. Li Zhongjiu's voice faded as he took a step forward. Suddenly, there was a fishy wind around him. Although Ma Yuanshan didn't care about it on the surface, he was already prepared in his heart. These people in front of him came from Luoxia City. He didn't know if the people of Luoxia City had heard some news, so they quickly came. Otherwise, how could he have arrived here so quickly? However, even if Ma Yuanshan was 120% alert, it was still difficult to resist Li Zhongjiu's move. However, Ma Yuanshan had already caught Li Zhongjiu's movement. When he saw Li Zhongjiu charging towards him, Ma Yuanshan immediately shouted in a low voice. You overestimate yourself. What could a kid do? Previously, Ma Yuanshan was worried that there might be some elders of the Li family hiding in the camp. These people were the ones he needed to pay attention to. Li Zhongjiu's figure flashed and appeared in front of Ma Yuanshan. His left hand clenched into a fist and pushed out. Suddenly, a power that resembled a rainbow piercing through the sun erupted. Boom! Although Ma Yuanshan saw Li Zhongjiu's movement, he found that he couldn't keep up with it. He could only watch as Li Zhongjiu's fist smashed towards his throat. Bang! Ma Yuanshan's feet didn't leave the ground. His body didn't move, but his neck suddenly sank. At the same time, a piece of scarlet flesh flew out from the back of his neck. The bones in his neck were directly broken by Li Zhongjiu's fist. He died in an instant. Without the connection of the spine, the neck naturally fell between the shoulders like an ornament. However, the most shocking thing was, Ma Yuanshan's flesh wasn't damaged at all. Ma Yuanshan's body showed a strange posture. Li Zhongjiu pulled out a short knife from Ma Yuanshan's waist. In front of the man in front of him, he directly cut off Ma Yuanshan's head, including his skin and flesh. When his head was chopped off, Ma Yuanshan's body fell to the ground with a loud thud. Fresh blood gushed out like a fountain. Seeing this scene, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The soldiers surrounding Li Zhongjiu didn't dare to come close. Ma Yuanshan was their leader and also their strongest expert. However, he was easily killed by Li Zhongjiu. What kind of monster was this young man? Next, you. Same. I'll give you 3 breaths. Li Zhongjiu pointed at a person. This person was a squadron leader. He had more than 10 people under him. Now that the first military governor was dead, it should be the deputy general to take control of the situation. However, Li Zhongjiu directly pointed at him. Suddenly, everyone's eyes turned to him. Immediately, the pressure on them became quite great. With the example of Ma Yuanshan, no one dared to be stubborn. If they didn't explain the situation clearly, they would probably end up like Ma Yuanshan. Regardless of whether the guardian's residence would help them take revenge, at that time, they would. You can't even see it. Shin family. Shin family has been sealed. Tomorrow, the Shin family will be executed. Now, they are imprisoned in the dungeon of the defender's residence. The squadron leader stuttered. When he spoke, he accidentally bit his tongue. He didn't dare to stop and directly said everything. Li Zhongzhou's eyes were suddenly filled with murderous intent. The squadron leader felt cold all over and his body couldn't help but tremble. Then, he saw Li Zhongzhou's knife coming down. Crash! The squadron leader's body was directly split into two. His internal organs fell to the ground and still jumped. Go to the defender's residence. Li Zhongzhou's body was full of murderous intent. These people were actually so audacious. Not only did they destroy the Shin family, but they also directly arrested all the people of the Shin family and prepared to execute them the next day. In his previous life, Li Zhongzhou only knew that his family was destroyed. His mother and father were also killed. Li Changjiang was the one who was responsible for all of this. But he didn't expect that the defender's residence dared to interfere. As for the reason, Li Zhongzhou didn't think it was necessary. No matter what the reason was, no one could hurt his family, his relatives. No one. The Li family's guard team suddenly became murderous. After such a thing happened, how could they let it go easily? Li Zhongzhou's mother was the wife of their family head. Although they all had the surname Li, they were family. Everyone blocked Li Zhongzhou's side and stared ahead. They were in a confrontation with the surrounding soldiers. In fact, there was a deputy general in this team. However, after seeing how ruthless Li Zhongzhou was and how even Ma Yuanshan was killed, the deputy general had already killed 3 people in a row. According to the law, Li Zhongzhou had committed a capital crime. But Li Zhongzhou's team was like a suicide squad. These people didn't dare to move at all. With such a murderous aura released, no one dared to provoke this iron-blooded team. Just like that, Li Zhongzhou and the others swaggered out of the encirclement of these people. These people didn't even dare to say anything. Watching the enemy leave was a very sullen feeling. Ahem, everyone, don't panic. Don't panic. Who knows where the defender is now? After Li Zhongzhou and the rest left, the deputy dared to stand up. He had been thinking about it all the time. When would Ma Yuanshan die so that he could be in charge of such a large number of guards? In the whole town, there were only so many guards. However, in this city, there would always be guards by the side of the Lord Guardian. These people were all experts. Only the Lord Guardian could deal with the people in front of him. As for the rest, whoever went up would die. There was no ambiguity. The defender seems to be in Willow Flower Alley. Bright Moon Hotel. Someone said. Willow Flower Alley, Bright Moon Hotel. When the deputy heard this, he immediately slapped his head. This was troublesome. Why did the defender go looking for fun at this time? But now that the fire was on his eyebrows, he didn't have time to think about it. He quickly ran over. He had to report the situation here. Chapter 133. The location of the defender's residence had always been easy to find. It was located in the most central area. No matter which city gate it was, as long as one entered the city and walked straight ahead, they would definitely be able to see the defender's residence. The defender's residence occupied an area of nearly 300 meters. Even the usual military training grounds were placed here. When the dynasty was first established, in order to establish its position and consolidate its position, it had already increased the power of these people and expanded the military force to form a deterrent. Whether it was the commoners or the forces of the underworld, they all feared the power of the dynasty. Even until now, these people had not been disarmed. Hence, this kind of drawback was gradually revealed. Some people even had their own military force, feigning compliance but opposing in secret, and even doing some extremely outrageous things. Using the dynasty's name, they did the dirty deeds of bandits. There were countless places like Guanxi town under the dynasty. Hence, even the defender's residence was quite domineering. It could also be said that it was quite free. It had the power and manpower in its hands. Whoever it wanted dead would die. Just like the Shin family. The Shin family was powerful, right? Wasn't the Shin family very powerful? The Shin family had been rich for several generations. This old man, Shin Chuanxiu, had made his fortune by relying on animal skins and became the fur king of Guanxi town. After being rich for so long, he still did not know how to pay more money. The defenders' residents could not stand by and watch, so they secretly took action. Later on, this matter became more and more serious. This caused the defender's hair to stand on end, and he ordered the Shin family to be wiped out. Now, in the dungeon of the defender's residence, the main figures of the Shin family were all imprisoned here. Facing the situation in front of him, Shin Chuanxiu's chi sank into his dantian as he sat in the cell. Beside him, a beautiful woman with long hair tied in a ponytail was half kneeling, taking care of the old man. "Father, don't worry. I have already sent someone to inform Tianqing." This beautiful woman was Li Zongjiu's mother, Shin Xinxiao. Her clothes were not bad, but she did not lose her elegance. There was always a calm aura around her. As she spoke, Shin Xinxiao also looked at the few people imprisoned in the opposite cell. The two people imprisoned in the opposite cell were Shin Xinxiao's two elder brothers. After exchanging glances with each other, they were secretly certain. There was no news of the person who went out to ask for help. He was most likely crippled. Therefore, if they wanted to survive, there was only one way, which was to kill their way out. Killing their way out also required time. However, Shin Chuanxiu was stubborn. The House of Guardians accused Shin Chunqiu of evading taxes and killing some rare beasts. They said the beasts were raised in Guanxi town by the dynasty. When did a few wild boars become national treasures? These people kept talking about the dynasty's laws. The old man was furious. He was a law-abiding citizen, so he proudly puffed out his chest and raised his head, declaring that he was innocent. In the end, he was still arrested and thrown into jail. He wanted to use this attitude to prove his innocence. His children followed him in one by one. Their old father had been taken away. Could it be that he was still sleeping at home? In short, Shin Chuanxiu was starting to regret his decision. His grandfather had been righteous all his life. If he said he didn't do it, then he didn't do it. He could even use his own blood to prove his innocence. He could die, but his children didn't have to die with him. However, what was done could not be undone. There was no chance for him to turn things around. The most infuriating thing was that Shin Chuanxiu only found out after he was sent to jail. It turned out that the other family in Guanxi town, the Tang family, had colluded with the House of Guardians to destroy the Shin family's foundation. They had stolen the Shin family's assets. Old Master Shin, who knew everything, was filled with regret. He didn't expect that he would be harmed by despicable people. At that time, he almost didn't. His entire person directly passed over just like that. Fortunately, Shin Xinxiao stabilized the old man's condition. Since these people wanted to cut the Gordian knot and play tricks behind the scenes, the Shin family couldn't just sit and wait for death. After all, Shin Xinxiao had seen the world. Now, he was ready to kill his way out. In the middle of the night, he would find an excuse and lead the Shin family out. They would return to Luoxia city first. Most importantly, they had to capture the guardian, Jiang Tsang. Otherwise, the Shin family, which had 40 to 50 people of all ages, wouldn't live to see the next day. It was a very risky thing to do. However, if he didn't take the risk, he wouldn't have any other opportunities. In fact, the family line might even be cut off. Tonight would definitely be a night of bloody battle. Fuck these bastards. When I get out, I'll kill all of you. Shen Xinxiao wasn't a weak woman. How could a woman who could pick up a rolling pin and chase people around be an ordinary person? This is a disaster for the Shen family. I didn't expect that the Shen family, which had been prosperous for generations, would encounter such a disaster in my hands. Thinking of this, old master Shen Chuanxiu couldn't help but cough. The thought of it made him angry. His emotions were so agitated that the injuries he had gotten from hunting in the mountains in his early years flared up again. Every member of the Shen family was a natural hunter. Now, they were like tigers trapped in a cage. Evil people are in charge. I, Shen Xinxiao, will not let these people off even if I become a ghost. Shen Xinxiao said sternly. Her eyes were filled with a manly spirit. At the same time, she was extremely angry about this matter. Hee, old master Shen, is the food in the dungeon safe? Just as the members of the Shen family were feeling melancholy, a provocative and playful voice rang out. The sound of gold and jewels colliding could be heard. A fat man, who was wearing gold and silver, walked in under the protection of a few guards in black. The man was holding 3 walnuts in his hand. He was twirling them in his hand. When he saw the pitiful appearance of a little bird that had stubbornly survived in the ruins, it was easy for him to make a move. Most importantly, when the fat man saw Shen Xinxiao's beautiful figure, he couldn't help but swallow his saliva. He had been attracted to Shen Xinxiao since he was young. However, he had been robbed of his love by a kid who had come out of nowhere. In the past, the Shen family and the Tang family were evenly matched. Hence, Shen Xinxiao could ignore him completely. However, things were different now. Shen Xinxiao was already a prisoner. His life and death were at the mercy of others. If he didn't take advantage of this opportunity to have some fun, it would be a waste. Tang Yuan, what are you doing here? Shen Chuanxiu shouted when he saw the fat man. Although my Shen family has been harmed by evil people, it is not something that a mere Tang Yuan can insult. Since your Tang family is so despicable, my Shen family will not let you off. Tang Yuan laughed loudly when she heard this. Old Master Shen. Do you still think that you are the richest man in Guanxi town? Ha ha ha, your Shen family's territory has been taken over by my Tang family. Even if you get out of here alive, you will have nothing left. Now, Shen Xinxiao, you have a chance tonight. I can take a huge risk and help you avoid the death penalty. What do you think? Your Shen family has reached the end. Only I can save you now. Other than me, who else can come and go as they please? This is the death penalty prison of the House of Guardians. Ha 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 ha. Tang Yuan laughed loudly. Just as her laughter reached its peak, a loud bang rang out. With a loud bang, the door to the dungeon was violently smashed apart. Countless wood chips flew out, interrupting Tang Yuan's laughter. Chapter 134. Who's there? The sudden explosion made it hard for anyone to react. The one who reacted the fastest was the head of the prison. This head of the prison had been in this line of work for 20 years. Under the deterrence of the dynasty's laws, he had been safe and sound for so many years. He had never encountered such a situation where someone forced their way in and ransacked the dungeon. He did not expect to encounter it today. Even when it happened in front of him, he still could not react. He did not know what was going on in front of him. The entrance was filled with dust. The head of the prison shouted, "Get out!" Suddenly, a sharp arrow pierced through the dust cloud. Shio! The sharp arrow immediately pierced through the prison head's heart. The powerful force nailed the prison head's body to the wall. Prison head. When the guards saw this scene, they immediately cried out in alarm. The strongest jailer had been killed just like that, and they immediately panicked. Before the dust had even settled, a figure could be seen walking out of the dust cloud. The figure took a few steps and arrived in front of the prison cell. "Hey, you!" The prison guard wanted to stop Li Zongjiu, but he saw a group of people rushing in. Their long swords fell and cut these people in half. Blood splattered everywhere. When this person was cut in half, Li Gui's eyes did not waver at all. There was only an unchanging determination. Hey, what's going on? Where did this kid come from? How dare he break into the prison? How dare he offend the laws of the Shengyan dynasty? Tang Yuan saw Li Zongjiu walking down the stairs. At first glance, he was just a child. What was there to be afraid of? "You guys go and capture this kid. Send him to the Lord Guardian." Such a huge commotion naturally attracted the attention of the Shin family. When Shin Xinxiao saw the young man walking down, he was pleasantly surprised at first. However, when he took a closer look, he found it hard to believe. However, Shin Xinxiao quickly confirmed that this was his son. Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu walked down with a murderous aura. Originally, he was prepared to go on a killing spree. These unruly people who had a close relationship with him actually dared to lay their hands on the close relatives of the evil lord, Li Zongjiu, and even threw his mother into the dungeon. Such arrogant behavior had thoroughly enraged Li Zongjiu. When Li Zongjiu found out about this, no one in the defender's residence would survive. However, when he heard his mother calling out to him, the murderous aura on Li Zongjiu's body instantly vanished. This long-awaited call had been heard for a full 3,000 years. Now, he had heard of it again. It was the most beautiful sound in the world. The child wants to raise, but the parents are no longer around. This was probably the greatest pain and regret in the mortal world. In his previous life, even though Li Zongjiu had become the unparalleled evil lord and enjoyed the respect of the world, Li Zongjiu had never been happy. He had never felt truly happy. Even his heart had long turned to stone. After 3,000 years, he had returned to his youth. Such an unbelievable thing had happened to him. It also made Li Zongjiu feel like he was in a dream. "Mother," Li Zongjiu shouted. This word had been sealed in Li Zongjiu's mouth for more than 3,000 years. To Li Zongjiu, this touching sound was something that he would never forget. Since he was reborn, he had to grasp everything in front of him. Who is it? Shin Chuanqiu could not react. Xinxiao's son. "Father, this is Zongjiu, Li Zongjiu." Shin Xinxiao was a little emotional. He thought that before he died, he would not be able to see the person he loved and his child. He did not care about Li Tianqing. They had seen each other for so long, but not being able to see his son was the greatest pain and regret in Shin Xinxiao's heart. As a mother, this pain would be so deep. However, Shin Xinxiao did not show it. Just now, he was silently praying in his heart that he would be able to see Li Zongjiu again. Could it be that the heavens had spoken directly? Li Zongjiu. Oh, it's my silly grandson from Luoxia City. Shin Chuanqiu remembered and quickly said. If Shin Xinxiao's IQ was online at this time, he would definitely talk back. However, Shin Chuanqiu's words were pardonable. Shin Chuanqiu actually liked this little grandson very much. However, because of an incident, he became this silly grandson. Li Zongjiu's incident was well known in the entire Luoxia city. The incident where he used the poison as an elixir. In the end, the victim was Shin Chuanqiu. That was why Shin Chuanqiu came up with this idea. However, Shin Chuanqiu did not blame Li Zongjiu. On the contrary, he was very fond of this bold grandson of his. It was supposed to be a very warm reunion scene, but now, it was blocked by the iron fence. Therefore, the moment Li Zongjiu saw it, his anger rose directly. So it's that bastard from Luoxia City. Sister Shen, you are so self-deprecating, it makes me very sad. Look at this kid, he looks like a bull's head and a horse's face. It's really ugly, Tang Yuan said repeatedly. She was extremely sarcastic towards Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu did not pay attention to Tang Yuan. Instead, he went directly to the fence and punched. With a loud bang, the fence in front of him was shattered. This domineering power was obvious at a glance. Even Tang Yuan's sarcastic words could not help but stop at this moment. Mother, grandfather, you have suffered. Li Zongjiu felt extremely sorry in his heart. If he had come earlier, he wouldn't have had to suffer so much. What guardian residence? If he dared to take a step into the Shen family, he would break his arms and legs. He would enter vertically and leave horizontally. Mother, it's okay. Quick, let your men take grandfather and leave first. The battle outside ended very quickly. Li Gui and the others were also covered in blood. They directly ignored Tang Yuan and the others and released all the members of the Shen family. Don't worry. Today, with me here, no one can hurt the Shen family, Li Zongjiu said. Just as these words were spoken, a wave of laughter that sounded like pigs being slaughtered erupted from outside. Ahahaha, this is too funny. Shen Xinxiao, your son is not only an ugly monster, but also a retard. No one can hurt the Shen family. Ugly child, please go out and find out what the Shen family's situation is now. They have already been sentenced to death by the dynasty's laws. Tang Yuan laughed loudly. Although the Shen family members were released, no one dared to touch Tang Yuan. This was because the four people beside Tang Yuan were also very famous. They had once worked together to kill a great bandit hiding in Guanxi town and became famous after that battle. Although the Shens were all experienced hunters, they were still far from enough to deal with these experts who could hunt down and kill bandits. After all, they were just ordinary hunters. The only ones who had some standard and some yuan qi were Shen Xinxiao and Shen Xinxiao's elder brother, Shen Nanxiao. One had to admit that this name was given quite casually. When Tang Yuan said such insulting words to Li Zongjiu, Li Gui was already prepared to make a move. Only Li Gui and 3 guards were sent into the dungeon. The rest of the people were stationed at the periphery to attract the enemy's firepower. Huh! The 4 black-clothed men immediately took a step forward and shielded Tang Yuan behind them. They were in a confrontation with Li Gui and the others. Li Gui and the others did not make a move. Shen Xinxiao wanted to curse back, but he was stopped by Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu turned around and walked towards Tang Yuan. Everyone looked at Li Zongjiu's actions. Do you know what it means to live a life worse than death? Li Zongjiu looked at Tang Yuan. He said very seriously. Chapter 135. No matter what, Tang Yuan was still the young master of the Tang family, the number 1 family in town. What sort of situation had he not seen before? He was able to toy with countless women in the town, he was able to make the bandits make way for him, he was able to make the people in the prison open the door for him, and he was even able to drink and chat merrily with the son of the town guard. In fact, there was nothing in Guanxi town that Tang Yuan couldn't do. And now, in front of his 4 subordinates, he was actually threatened by a teenage child. How could Tang Yuan tolerate this? Immediately, Tang Yuan angrily pushed away the 4 guards in front of him. You brat, Tang Yuan wanted to rush up and slap Li Zongjiu. However, Li Zongjiu directly stepped forward and grabbed Tang Yuan's hair. Pa! Tang Yuan fell to the ground. Li Zongjiu's sudden attack was so fast that the guards didn't even have time to react. They saw Li Zongjiu finish his attack. What are you doing? With an angry roar, one of them wanted to snatch Tang Yuan back. After all, this was their duty. However, Li Gui and the others had already made their move. Although the Li family guards were seriously injured, their combat experience had increased by a significant amount. Their bloodthirstiness had also made these people feel a deep sense of dread. Li Zongjiu directly grabbed Tang Yuan's hair and dragged him out. Li Gui and the other Li family's guards blocked the 4 black-clothed guards and were still fighting among them. The scene was a chaotic scene. Shen Xinxiao led the Shen family's people and quickly followed Li Zongjiu's footsteps. During this process, Tang Yuan could only watch helplessly as the 4 guards she had brought with her fell to the ground one after another. Hiss! Let me go, let me go. He seemed to have realized something. Tang Yuan woke up. His men had been killed by Li Zongjiu. Who else could save him? Not many people knew that he had secretly come to the town guard's residence tonight. The only people who knew were already killed by the Li family's guards. These people even dared to kill the guards of the town guard's residence. If they killed him, it would only be one more life. Amidst the chaos, Tang Yuan had already understood her situation. Under such circumstances, there was no longer any hope. Why did the situation become like this? At this moment, Tang Yuan also wondered why he had done such a stupid thing and said such a stupid thing. Li Zongjiu dragged Tang Yuan all the way to a flagpole. As an institution under the dynasty, there would always be a flagpole with the dynasty's holy flame flag. Li Zongjiu pulled the flagpole out. When Tang Yuan saw that Li Zongjiu had let go of her to fiddle with the flagpole, she scrambled to run away. Murder, murder. After running for a distance, Tang Yuan saw that Li Zongjiu did not chase after him. He heaved a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to curse Li Zongjiu, he saw the flagpole in Li Zongjiu's hand stabbing towards him. What? Puchi. The tip of the bamboo pole was sharp. It easily pierced through Tang Yuan's stomach and came out from the back of his neck. It was dyed red by the Shenyan dynasty's flag. Ah! Ouch ouch ouch! At this moment, Tang Yuan felt excruciating pain all over her body. Even the slightest breath she took was excruciatingly painful. The flagpole pierced through Tang Yuan's body, but it did not hurt any of his organs. In other words, even if the bamboo pole was pulled away, it would only be a superficial wound. He was in a trance. Tang Yuan looked at the things in front of her gradually getting farther and farther away from her. Suddenly, she appeared at the top of Guanxi town. Looking down from the top of Guanxi town, she saw that she was strung up by the flagpole and directly lifted into the sky. She was at least 10 meters above the ground. Fuck. Fuck. What are you trying to do? Put me down. Li Zongjiu raised his head and looked at his masterpiece. Stringing people up was a method that Li Zongjiu often used. The flagpole pierced through the body and did not hurt the internal organs. The bleeding rate was also relatively slow. At present, he could at least last 2 to 3 days before he died. Of course, during this process, there was no lack of elixirs. Li Zongjiu flicked his finger. Suddenly, with a whoosh, some elixir powder turned into a ray of light and smashed into Tang Yuan's body. It exploded, and the elixir powder spread out. For ordinary people, it had no effect. However, for some ants and other animals that liked sweets, this was something that had a fatal attraction. To them, this thing was simply a treasure bestowed by the heavens. The smell was enough to spread to the range of 100 meters. On the other hand, all the ants within 100 meters would gather here. It directly invaded Tang Yuan's wound. What are you trying to do? What did you sprinkle on me? While he was shouting, Li Zongjiu threw another stone and hit one of Tang Yuan's acupoints. Since then, she had lost control of her body below her neck. Even her fingers could not move. Tang Yuan fell into a state of extreme panic when she felt such a sensation on her body. Enjoy it. Li Zongjiu looked at Tang Yuan, who was hanging high on the flagpole. Then, he turned and left. Those ants would crawl along the flagpole from one side of the wound to the other side of the wound. This feeling of being pierced by thousands of ants, anyone would choose to kneel down and beg for mercy. If he had the ability to fight, he believed that the wound on his body would definitely fester. Even if an ant burrowed into his body, the unbearable itch would be magnified dozens or even hundreds of times. Brat, put me down quickly. Otherwise, I will not forgive you. Tang Yuan roared. Now, only his throat could make a sound, but Li Zongjiu turned a deaf ear. Instead, he came in front of a group of Shen family members who were still in a state of shock and disbelief. While Shen Chuanqiu was still in the prison, he had already made up his mind. He had to get rid of all these people. The guardian residents had gone too far. If they continued to compromise, their Shen family would be finished. Tonight, they were almost finished. Hence, they had to show their strength and retaliate. That was the only way. Only then could he ensure that his family would not decline. Gu Man led a few guards from the Li family to search the protector's estate. However, apart from capturing a few guards who were hiding, they didn't find the Lord Protector's figure. Immediately, he hurried to Li Zongjiu's side to report. Stay in the defender's residence and wait for the defender to return. Chapter 136. Li Zongjiu said. It had to be said that this was an extremely bold and crazy idea. The people of the Shen family had escaped with great difficulty, and now there was no place for them to go in Guanxi town. The only way was to leave Guanxi town as soon as possible. However, if that was the case, the Shen family would also decline. After all, the Shen family was based in Guanxi town. If the Shen family were to move, and not just move, but flee, they would leave Guanxi town. Coupled with the court's arrest warrant, all of them would become fugitives. No one could bear such a blow. That's right. I want to know what Lu Jianzhong is capable of. Damn that fatty. Lu Jianzhong. That was the name of the garrison. Of course, Lu Jianzhong was young, but he came to Guanxi town early to make a fortune. Although it was a small place, Lu Jianzhong's identity was not simple. To be able to take up the position of a guard at the age of 30, if he wasn't very capable, then he must have a very strong background. Putting aside Lu Jianzhong's background, his position as a garrison guard was an official of the Saint Flame Empire. If anything were to happen to him, he would have the support of the Saint Flame Empire. In this small Guanxi town, Lu Jianzhong could do whatever he wanted. As for the so-called supervision department, he just needed to bribe them and there would be no problem. Father, don't worry. The most important thing is to get out of here. Shen Xinqiao thought for a while. The Li family had only sent a dozen or so guards, and in addition to the previous battle, they had already suffered great losses. Their current strength might not be able to defeat the garrison. Moreover, there were many experts hiding around Lu Jianzhong. Considering the overall situation, Shen Xinqiao knew that they would be trapped if they stayed to confront them. They would not be able to get out of Guanxi town. Sister is right. If we don't leave, we will all die here. Shen Nanxiao said. Even if everyone left this place together, the survival rate might not be very high. Maybe most of them would die on the way. But once they entered the mountain, it would be the Shen's hunter's world. As for what happened after that, he would think about it later. Whether it was reputation or not, he had to survive first. You youngsters should leave. I'm old and can't walk anymore. Shen Chuanqiu said. His old eyes were filled with endless depth as he looked at the grown-up children around him. Li Zongjiu had also come. As a member of the grandson generation, Li Zongjiu's performance this time had also surprised Shen Chuanqiu. Shen Chuanqiu couldn't believe it. Zongjiu, you are still young. The world is dangerous. Quickly take your people and leave. Your guards are still young. Don't sacrifice them in vain. Shen Chuanqiu wanted to persuade Li Zongjiu and the others to leave first. Li Zongjiu shook his head. Grandpa, Mom, don't worry. As long as I, Li Zongjiu, am here, that puny Guanxi town won't be able to do anything to us. Not only will we not have to leave, I'll take back everything we've lost. Take back what was lost. This was what old master Shen Chuanqiu wanted. However, in this world, without strength, connections, and background, how could you possibly get back the things that were stolen from you? Those inspirational articles and stories were naturally used to deceive people. There were only a few people who could really turn the tide in their lives. Zongjiu, is what you said true? Shen Nanxiao couldn't believe his eyes. This little nephew of his could actually say something so contagious. Shen Xinxiao, who was beside him, was also carefully sizing up Li Zongjiu. He was extremely amazed by the changes in Li Zongjiu's body. What exactly happened to Li Zongjiu? Could it be that the Snow Elixir sect had the ability to transform people? They could actually train the introverted Li Zongjiu to become like this. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that Li Zongjiu was his son. At this moment, Li Gui tactfully came to Shen Xinxiao's side and whispered a few words in his ear. When he heard what Li Gui said, his eyes widened and his mouth dropped open in shock. The more he looked at Li Zongjiu, the more he couldn't believe it. Most of the people from the Shen family were also arranged to rest in the rooms of the guardian residence. The injured guards of the Li family were also bandaged. Fortunately, they had brought a lot of elixirs with them. After taking the elixirs, their injuries were healed. It was already the latter half of the night. The entire guardian residence was already under Li Zongjiu's control. It didn't have to be a lot of people. Most of the armed forces of the defenders' residence had already been wiped out when they attacked. Li Zongjiu didn't show any mercy when he made a move. The black wind was biting cold. Tang Yuan, who was hanging high on the flagpole, was howling in pain. He wanted to scream in the direction of his family, but he didn't have the strength to do so. At this moment, Tang Yuan also felt that there was something wriggling in his body. When these things entered his body, he felt an unbearable itch. He wanted to stretch out his hands to scratch his wounds, but he realized that his hands couldn't move at all. Oh my God, let me die. Kill me, this kind of torture was something that even those with strong willpower couldn't withstand. Moreover, this was a rich second generation who only knew how to eat, drink and play. His fate was obvious. However, when Tang Yuan cried for help from above, the people from the Shen family who were about to go to sleep could only feel good in their hearts. Such a guy, let him continue to suffer. Even if Tang Yuan wanted to kill himself, it would be difficult. Everyone is in a small building on the east side, and they are protected by 6 guards. Li Gui reported to Li Zongjiu. Some of the unimportant people were naturally gathered together. The entire building was also protected. Don't underestimate the defensive power of these 6 guards. Even if hundreds of people attacked at the same time, these 6 guards would be able to make sufficient preparations. As for Li Zongjiu and the others, they were in the main hall of the Guardian Mansion. Li Zongjiu was hungry, so he asked the people in the Guardian residence to cook some dishes and serve them. He really treated the Guardian residence as his own home. He was even more free than his own home. This feeling of substitution was too fast. Shen Nanxiao and the rest didn't expect that one day they would be living in the Guardian residence. Moreover, they were living in the main hall of the Guardian residence from the prison. At this moment, Willow Lane, Bright Moon Hotel. A large number of soldiers had cleared the streets. Every house was closed, and some people were directly chased out. As the Deputy General of the City Guards, he had a long sword. He was also equipped with a long sword. He bent over and jogged all the way to the most luxurious private room in the Bright Moon restaurant and gently knocked on the door. The outside had already been cleaned up completely. However, in this room, there was still singing and dancing. Son of a bitch, who is knocking on the door? Get in here. A fiery voice came from inside the room. Hearing this, the Deputy General's heart trembled. Although the consequences were severe, the current situation was even more serious. Lord Lu, something bad has happened. Chapter 137. His upper body was naked and he was wearing a pair of ordinary pajama pants. Lu Jianzhong sat in front of the table and listened to the kneeling deputy as he recounted the entire incident. Lu Jianzhong's eyebrows shot up as he listened to the story. Who would have thought that someone would be so arrogant as to kill his military governor on the streets? These thieves are actually so arrogant. Sir Lu, the Tang family will send 100 martial masters to join forces with the city guards to take them down. An old man in his 60s standing beside Lu Jianzhong said with a flushed face. There were also many lipstick marks on his skinny body. If one were to look at him like this, it would be unseemly. However, Lu Jianzhong had yet to take out his clothes. How could Tang Jiushan put them on? It was not strange for Tang Jiushan to be here. The Tang family had colluded with the defender's residence. Today was the day that the entire Shin family would be thrown into jail. Tang Jiushan was naturally happy. He would be even happier if all the members of the Shin family were dead. He had originally thought that this matter would be over. However, it seemed like there were still other waves. Tang Jiushan, who was burning with anxiety, wanted to get rid of these people as soon as possible. Shut up. You. Go and gather the people from Mang Mountain immediately. Enter the city secretly. Give them 4 hours. Although Lu Jianzhong was greedy, he was not stupid. Such a valiant force had suddenly appeared. The young man in the lead had actually dealt with Ma Yuanshan with a single move. How could such a person be underestimated? Since they were going to be enemies with these people, they would have to be fully prepared. You want to let them enter the city? The deputy was obviously a little surprised. He had never expected that they would actually let these people enter the city. This was already a very dangerous matter. It was difficult to weigh the pros and cons of using these extremely dangerous people to deal with a dangerous situation. What are you waiting for? Lu Jianzhong shouted fiercely. He had never been kind to his subordinates. Furthermore, this was Lu Jianzhong's territory. This was Guanxi town. I didn't expect that there would be so many capable people in my small Guanxi town. Interesting. Interesting. Let me meet you. Lu Jianzhong sneered. He put on his clothes and walked out of the door of the private room. When Lu Jianzhong walked out, another figure appeared behind him. Like a ghost, the figure appeared behind Lu Jianzhong without making a sound. He didn't say anything, nor did he do anything else. He just walked slowly like that. Tang Jiushan, come with me. Don't bring anyone else. I want to see if these people have the guts of a bear or a leopard. Lu Jianzhong waved his hand, telling the Tang clan's old man to follow him. All of you stay here. Guanxi town is my turf. Of my territory is my turf. Do you think that I want to harm you? After Lu Jianzhong ordered Tang Jiushan's guards to retreat, the guards looked at each other in dismay. Who knows what Lu Jianzhong's intention is? If Lu Jianzhong is unhappy, it is not impossible for him to make the Tang family suffer the same fate as the Shin family. Looking at Lu Jianzhong's angry eyes, Tang Jiushan was furious. How could Tang Jiushan not know? He could only apologize to Lu Jianzhong again and again. He was still smiling at Lu Jianzhong. Then, he waved his guards to retreat. Lord Lu, what are you talking about? Let's go. The Shin family seems to be rebelling. Huh, is that so? Then they can't escape the death penalty. Let's go. Just like that, the large group of city guards escorted Lu Jianzhong and Tang Jiushan as they headed towards the Guardian Mansion. The guards of the Tang family who were forced to stay behind were also at a loss. Their duty was to protect the old man, but now the old man had been forced to leave by someone else. What should they do? Let's go. Let's follow them. If anything happens, we'll act according to the circumstances. Go. Big brother, I heard that they were going to Mount Mang to invite someone. What is it? Don't ask if you don't know. This night in Guanxi town was destined to be turbulent. A large number of armored soldiers swept through the streets like a torrent of steel. In addition to the initial 500 soldiers, the rest of the garrison forces were mobilized from other places. A total of 800 armored soldiers were here. Is there something floating on the flag? Lu Jianzhong raised his hand and the troops behind him stopped. Something floating. It should be some rubbish wrapped around it. Tang Jiushan was old and could no longer see the thing in the distance. Shoot that thing down, Lu Jianzhong said directly. He was afraid that there would be an ambush. In addition, it was in the middle of the night. He had to shoot that thing down to ensure that nothing would go wrong. The one who was in charge of the troops here was Lu Jianzhong's butler, also known as the lackey. Archers, get ready. Shoot. Lai Fu, who was wearing a blue butler uniform, gave the order. Suddenly, a series of arrows whizzed out. Swoosh. 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 Hundreds of arrows were shot directly at that thing like a dense rain of arrows. Good shot. As expected of the city guard's archers. Every shot is accurate. Tang Jiushan applauded when he saw that. He flattered Lu Jianzhong in front of him and hoped that Lu Jianzhong would not make things difficult for him. Now, he still wanted to build a good relationship with Lu Jianzhong. Lu Jianzhong glanced at Tang Jiushan beside him. The reason why he cooperated with Tang Jiushan was to bring down the Shen family. Firstly, it was to prove his strength. Secondly, the Tang family wasn't a force to be reckoned with. Comparatively speaking, the Tang family was easier to control. Therefore, Lu Jianzhong chose to cooperate with the Tang family because the Tang family posed no threat to him. However, after the rain of arrows, the thing on the flag did not move. Instead, because the arrows were stuck on it, the flagpole fell directly towards them. Boom! The flagpole fell 50 meters in front of them. Go, take that thing down and have a look. He seemed to think that he had won the first battle. At least, he defeated the enemy and dealt a heavy blow to them. However, when the soldiers quickly ran to the front and dragged the thing on the ground to Lu Jianzhong, Tang Jiushan's smile suddenly froze on the spot when he saw this scene. The person in front of him was shot to pieces. Even if his parents were in front of him, they would definitely not recognize him. However, Tang Jiushan recognized him at a glance. The person who was shot into a sieve was really his precious son. It was unknown what was going on these days. Most people had children when they were old. Usually, those who were successful in their careers usually had children when they were old. Therefore, they took extra care of their children. Tang Yuan treasured him to death. Everything was done according to his wishes. In Guanxi town, there was almost no one who could stop Tang Yuan. Even if something happened, the Tang family would take care of it from behind. Now, Tang Yuan was originally not dead, but now he was shot to such a state. His fate made people sigh. This. Sir. This, what kind of thing is this? Do you know it? Lu Jianzhong went up and gave it a kick. When Lu Jianzhong kicked the fat lump of rotten meat, a piece of meat was directly kicked away. Immediately, a group of pitch-black ants crawled out from the stomach and scattered in all directions. This gave Lu Jianzhong a fright. Fuck, what are these things? Tang Jiushan saw this scene and did not dare to admit it. He repeatedly said, I don't know, I don't know. Chapter 138. Throw this pile of rotten flesh out and feed it to the dogs. Lu Jianzhong said directly. His subordinates immediately stepped forward and dragged Tang Yuan's corpse away before throwing it into the garbage. Tang Jiushan was extremely anxious. However, Tang Yuan was already dead. If they couldn't get through this storm tonight, the Tang family would probably be finished. In comparison, Tang Jiushan liked Tang Yuan more. He couldn't allow anything to happen to Tang Yuan. Otherwise, he would be in deep trouble. Therefore, he didn't dare admit that he knew Tang Yuan in front of Lu Jianzhong. In fact, Lu Jianzhong really didn't know Tang Yuan. Furthermore, Lu Jianzhong couldn't be bothered to look at Tang Yuan's disgusting appearance after being shot. How dare they attack the defender's residence? They are openly defying the dynasty. Charge in. When they arrived at the defender's residence, they saw the two guards lying on the ground. They had been left behind by Li Zongjiu and the others when they had attacked. Boom! Boom! The door was smashed open. However, there wasn't the slightest sound in the defender's residence. Instead, the long passageway that led to the meeting hall was filled with corpses on both sides of the passageway. These were all the guards of the defender's residence. They had all lost their lives. The blood on the ground gathered and flowed onto the floor. In the eyes of ordinary people, such a horrifying and bloody scene was enough to shock them to the core. Lu Jianzhong realized that this matter wasn't simple. However, when he thought about the fact that he was the defender's resident of Guanxi town and had the backing of an expert from his family, he felt that there was nothing to worry about. Not to mention Guanxi town, even within 100 miles of Guanxi town, there wouldn't be anyone more powerful than the person behind him. Now that his defender's residence had been invaded, how could such a thing happen so casually? Lu Jianzhong's reputation would be ruined in Guanxi town in the future. How bold of you to wait for me here. Send a group of people to search the dungeon and see if there are any fish that escaped the net. Also, with so many people, it's impossible for them to be gathered in the meeting hall. Find these people and bring them out. At the same time, seal off all the main roads of the House of Guardians. When the people from Mang Mountain arrive, we'll kill our way in. There's no need to say anything. Lu Jianzhong acted swiftly and decisively. His subordinates immediately split into 3 groups. In the end, there were only a dozen people who followed Lu Jianzhong into the meeting hall. Tang Jiushan, that shadow-like bodyguard, and some of Lu Jianzhong's personal bodyguards, were more trustworthy. The dozen or so people walked into the meeting hall. Originally, they thought that they would see a scene of 2 armies facing off against each other after entering the house. However, before they even entered the house, they could already smell a fragrance. When they really walked in, they were immediately shocked by the scene before their eyes. These people actually, he was actually in the House of Guardians. Swaggering while eating hot pot. The boiling aroma filled the air above the eaves and lingered in the entire house. More than a dozen people surrounded the hot pot, eating heartily. There were dozens of corpses lying outside, but the people inside were actually eating hot pot so happily. When they saw Lu Jianzhong and the rest enter, everyone couldn't help but put down their chopsticks. Shen Chuanxiu's gaze was like a pair of eagle claws, directly grabbing Tang Jiushan's body. Tang Jiushan was the person who caused the Shen family to fall into such a miserable state. He was the main culprit. This old fart was actually so insidious. Today, he had almost died. When enemies meet, their eyes would be exceptionally red. Tang Jiushan, you're living quite comfortably as a lackey. Shen Chuanxiu said in a deep voice. The rest of the people also put down their bowls and chopsticks, wiping their mouths. Shen Chuanxiu, as a fugitive, you killed the guards of the House of Guardians. I'm afraid you'll be in prison for the rest of your life. Tang Jiushan also snorted coldly. He was not afraid of Shen Chuanxiu at all. Both of them were originally at the same level. Now that Shen Chuanxiu had become a prisoner, their positions had changed drastically. Tang Jiushan directly fired at Shen Chuanxiu. Tang Jiushan, do you know that escaping from prison is a crime punishable by death? Lu Jianzhong stood up with his hands behind his back. Looking at the faces of the Shen family in front of him, most of them were very familiar. However, Lu Jianzhong dared to pat his chest and say that he had never seen this young man before. The aura of the young man in front of him was extremely unfamiliar. Even with Lu Jianzhong's strength, there was no way for him to determine Li Zongjiu's strength. This meant that Li Zongjiu either had no yuan qi cultivation or was a hidden expert. If that was the case, Lu Jianzhong had to be careful when dealing with Li Zongjiu. However, at such a young age, even if he had any ability, it would only be within a certain range. He might not be able to cause any waves. You're the House of Guardians. Li Zongjiu said in front of everyone. Then, he wiped off the oil stains on his hands. He casually moved a chair to the front and sat down with a swagger. He looked at Lu Jianzhong in front of him as if Lu Jianzhong was the prisoner and Li Zongjiu's status was higher. Interesting, you actually dare to act ruthlessly in front of me. Lu Jianzhong's small eyes narrowed as he looked at Li Zongjiu in front of him. Soon, someone moved a chair for Lu Jianzhong to sit down. The distance between the two of them was less than 10 meters. You should be from Luoxia City's Li family, right? You're not afraid at such a young age. However, even if your Luoxia City's Li family came here today, the outcome would be the same. All of you would become wanted criminals. Lu Jianzhong suddenly shouted in a stern voice. As soon as these words came out, the Shen family behind him became agitated. Why are we wanted? We're innocent, Li Zongjiu waved his hand, indicating for the people behind him to quiet down. Shen Xinxiao looked at his son sitting in front of him. At this moment, he felt as if he was being protected. It was as if the area behind Li Zongjiu was absolutely safe and no one could hurt them. When this feeling appeared, it made Shen Xinxiao's heart tremble slightly. His son had grown up. Although he didn't know what happened to Li Zongjiu, Li Gui had briefly explained the situation. Shen Xinxiao knew that his son was now able to shoulder the responsibility and was no longer a child. You're his housekeeper, right? Li Zongjiu pointed at the person beside Lu Jianzhong. This person had been nodding and bowing to Lu Jianzhong ever since he came in. He was also the one who moved the chair for Lu Jianzhong just now. When he was called out by Li Zongjiu, he was a little surprised. Why was he involved in the fight between these big shots? From now on, you'll be the garrison of Guanxi town. When Li Zongjiu saw that he didn't deny it, he directly said. Directly appoint the garrison. Chapter 139. Not only did Li Zongjiu appoint the town guard without authorization, but he also did it in front of the current town guard. Most importantly, Li Zongjiu's current status was that of a prison breaker. Such a crime was punishable by death. Lu Jianzhong found it hilarious that such a death row criminal was giving orders in front of him as though he was passing judgment on the world. He had seen many interesting things in his long tenure as town guard, but this was the first time he saw someone as self-righteous as Li Zongjiu. Tang Jiushan, who was standing beside Li Zongjiu, laughed heartily when he heard what Li Zongjiu said. He took the opportunity to mock Li Zongjiu. In his opinion, Li Zongjiu was too ignorant. Shen Chunqiu, where did you find him? No matter how useless your Shen family is, there's no need to find a child to make a scene. Ha! Tang Jiushan said. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he saw Li Zongjiu looking at him. Tang Jiushan couldn't help but feel a sense of guilt. So it's a fool. Ha! Take them down. Lu Jianzhong sneered. His fat body was about to take a step back when he suddenly saw Li Zongjiu's figure appear in front of him. What? Lu Jianzhong, who had just stood up, was so frightened that he fell backward. Humph. Seeing that Li Zongjiu had actually made a move, the black-robed elder behind Lu Jianzhong immediately let out a cold snort. This cold snort was like 1,000 layers of turbulent waves that directly swept towards Li Zongjiu and the others. Boom! The surrounding air seemed to have turned into thousands of sharp swords in an instant, piercing towards Shen Chunqiu and the others. The first to bear the brunt was Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu did not release the slightest bit of spiritual power. He just condensed his own mental strength into a white chess piece. It flew straight ahead. Boom! There seemed to be a divine might gathering on the white chess piece as it spread out in all directions in front of him. Boom! Power surged. Lu Jianzhong's stool was unable to withstand the pressure of the void and shattered with a loud bang. The next moment, Lu Jianzhong fell to the ground. However, the most shocked person was the black-robed old man standing behind him. In the blink of an eye, Li Zongjiu's mental energy swept over. Boom! The black-robed old man couldn't help but take 2 steps back. However, on the surface, he appeared to be unharmed. However, the black-robed old man's mysteriousness and strength were obvious to all. However, Li Zongjiu had been forced to take 2 steps back. Furthermore, it seemed like he had done nothing, yet he was able to force Li Zongjiu back. This scene made everyone even more surprised by Li Zongjiu. Shen Chunqiu was shocked. Tang Jiushan, who was standing at the side, immediately shut his mouth. Could it be that these people could not defeat Li Zongjiu? If they really couldn't defeat Li Zongjiu, then wouldn't the matter of him mocking Li Zongjiu just now be part of Li Zongjiu's scheme? However, it was a pity that he didn't bring his guards. Tang Jiushan could only bluff on the surface, but in reality, he didn't have any confidence at all. If they really fought, then Tang Jiushan probably couldn't even defeat Shen Chunqiu. After all, in this small village, some rich people didn't even bother to cultivate. Most of the time, they just let their subordinates do the work. If I have the money to hire people to fight, then why should I work so hard to cultivate? Tang Jiushan couldn't help but take a few steps to the side. I didn't expect you to be a mental strength master. I have tortured and killed countless geniuses, but I have never killed a mental strength master before. The black-robed old man took 2 steps back, then let out a shrill laugh. Under such circumstances, the black-robed old man's gaze turned sharp. He had tortured and killed countless geniuses. Could it be that this old man had some weird fetish? Just listening to him gave people a terrifying feeling. Li Zongjiu couldn't help but laugh when he heard this. How could he compare the number of people killed with the great evil lord? I'm afraid that all the people you've met in your life wouldn't be enough to kill Li Zongjiu. You look like you want to eat hot pot. I'll put your head in the hot pot later and let you eat to your heart's content. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. You have a sharp tongue. Die. Black tornado poison palm. The old man let out a low roar. Following the surge of yuan power, the robe on his body directly melted away. As the old man circulated his yuan energy, he made people feel a thunderous black wind rush into their hearts. Boom! The old man's palms turned pitch black, and even the air felt like it was filled with poisonous gas. He slammed his palm towards Li Zongjiu. Not good, that's the black poison old man. Shen Chunqiu had been staring at the old man all this time. The old man had been in Guanxi town for a long time, but because he rarely showed himself, his identity had never been discovered. However, Shen Chunqiu and the others were extremely curious about the black poison old man's identity. Now that he saw the old man attack, he was shocked to reveal the old man's identity. The black poison old man? Isn't that the leader of the 5 poison gang? Shen Nanxiao exclaimed in surprise. The 5 poison gang could be said to have committed all kinds of evil, and had even captured living people to refine poison. This caused the surrounding area to be extremely wary of the 5 poison gang. It was a good thing that the dynasty came forward and joined forces with the defenders of several towns to suppress the 5 poison gang. There was even a power from a 3rd-grade city that attacked together and destroyed the 5 poison gang. However, the leader of the 5 poison gang, the black poison old man, had actually appeared in front of them today. This meant that there was something fishy about the incident that day. In order to eliminate the 5 poison gang, it was said that they had applied for a lot of funds from the dynasty. Now that the funds had been approved, the 5 poison gang was still active in the area. That bastard, he actually exposed his identity. Lu Jianzhong was lying on the ground. When he saw that the black poison old man had exposed his identity, he cursed in his heart. However, it didn't matter. If the black poison old man attacked, only death would await these people. Since they wouldn't be able to live, there was nothing to worry about. Today, he would go on a killing spree in the Guardian Mansion. The black poison whirlwind palm struck out. Li Zongjiu could indeed feel the terrifying power emanating from the black poison palm. This person's strength had already reached the Yuan general level. However, if one were to talk about using poison, the black poison old man had truly found the wrong opponent. Using poison? Li Zongjiu immediately chuckled. Before his smile had even faded, Li Zongjiu had already raised his palm, directly colliding with the black poison whirlwind palm. Boom! Pa! As the two palms collided, wind and clouds rose as auras crazily erupted between the two. The black poison old man stared at Li Zongjiu in shock. If an ordinary person's palm came into contact with his poison, that person would have long turned into a pool of blood. However, Li Zongjiu's palm did not even cause the slightest ripple when it collided with his. Moreover, the black poison old man could clearly sense that his power had no way of invading Li Zongjiu's body. It was as if there was an iron wall blocking his way. This prevented the black poison old man's power from invading Li Zongjiu's body. Let's see how long you can last. The black poison old man's voice was stern. A cold light rose from the corners of Li Zongjiu's mouth. Take a look at yourself first. As his voice faded, the yuan power within the black poison old man's body frantically gushed towards Li Zongjiu's body. This was not the result of the black poison old man taking the initiative to attack. Instead, it was a result of Li Zongjiu forcibly absorbing the black poison old man's power. Oh. Chapter 140. The 5 poison yuan power in my body, not good. Old man black poison had initially thought that Li Zongjiu was simply courting death. Given his 5 poison yuan power, even an ordinary yuan general would find it difficult to resist if it were to stick to his outer body. If it were to invade his body, even an expert several levels higher than himself would not be able to withstand it. They would even have the opportunity to kill him. The 5 poison yuan power in old man black poison's body swiftly poured into Li Zongjiu's body at this moment. Old man black poison gradually discovered that there seemed to be an endless space within Li Zongjiu's body that was rapidly absorbing his energy, causing his body to feel incomparably empty. Old man black poison gradually began to panic. The yuan power in his body was no longer under his control. The two were deadlocked in place as their palms met. From an outsider's point of view, it seemed to be a contest of yuan power. Well done. Destroy him and I'll give you 500,000 gold coins. Lu Jianzhong was actually cheering from behind. When old man black poison heard this, he wanted nothing more than to turn around and slap Lu Jianzhong's face. Can't you see that I'm going all out and am at a disadvantage? What are you planning to do by saying, well done now? How is this possible? Old man black poison's heart was shaken, but he could not panic at this moment. He needed to calm down in order to deal with this troublesome opponent before him. Hence, old man black poison was desperately circulating his Yuan Sutra as he pondered. Fine. Since you want to devour my energy, I'll fight you to the end. In old man black poison's opinion, Li Zongjiu must have relied on his powerful mental energy or some secret weapon to absorb his poison. However, once the poison accumulated to a certain level, Li Zongjiu would definitely not be able to hold on. When that time came, he would naturally collapse. When he thought of this, old man black poison's heart naturally hardened. He retrieved a porcelain bottle from his bosom and poured something into his mouth. What he ate was the 5 poisons pill that old man black poison had specially refined for his poison arts. If he were to consume a single pill, he would be able to unleash his poison arts within a minute. Boom! Old man black poison's aura suddenly erupted. It was as if a huge vortex had engulfed Li Zongjiu's body. This terrifying scene was simply shocking to ordinary people. My little grandson will be fine, right? When Shin Chunqiu saw this, he started to worry. The other party was the leader of the 5 poison gang, old man black poison. These people were all vicious and merciless. They had at least hundreds of lives on their backs. Every single one of them had committed a heinous crime. This damned sinner had to be dealt with. Who knew that he would appear in front of them and even fight with his grandson? Nothing will happen. I have faith in Zongjiu. At this moment, Shin Xinqiao's heart was filled with worry. It would be a lie if he said that he wasn't worried. His fingernails were almost embedded into his palms as he clenched his fists tightly. He stared fixedly at Li Zongjiu's condition. If this arrogant and ugly old man in front of him dared to hit her precious son, Shen Xinxiao would risk her life to save Li Zongjiu. At this moment, Shen Xinxiao could only cheer for Li Zongjiu in his heart. Li Zongjiu felt the other party's aura suddenly surge. At this moment, he also fixed his gaze and gradually became serious. This was because the aura produced by the other party at this moment was enough to make Li Zongjiu retreat. White Dragon Origin Spirit. Li Zongjiu summoned the White Dragon Origin Spirit. It attached itself to his body in a state of nothingness to help Li Zongjiu. His mental strength also instantly increased. The other party clearly felt that Li Zongjiu's mental strength had become stronger again. He immediately let out a low roar. "I'll fight it out with you." The black poison old man kept trying to retract his yuan power. Li Zongjiu's devouring had already touched the black poison old man's origin. If this continued, the black poison old man would probably collapse. "If you want your power, then I'll return it all to you." Li Zongjiu sneered. The black poison old man didn't understand at first, but in the next moment, Li Zongjiu crazily rushed all the power into the black poison old man's body. The power that had been absorbed previously was all controlled by Li Zongjiu's mental strength. Now, Li Zongjiu directly spat out this power again. Boom! A terrifying and turbulent power burst out. It directly whizzed forward. The black poison old man's hands were originally somewhat red, but when Li Zongjiu transferred the power back into the black poison old man's body, it directly caused a terrifying change in the black poison old man's body. The blood in the black poison old man's body seemed to be rapidly draining away. Not good. The black poison old man was instantly overwhelmed by fear and hurriedly withdrew his hands. But when the black poison old man withdrew his hands and released them, the terrifying power of the 5 poisons had already exploded his acupuncture points. In this kind of forceful competition of yuan power, if one party wanted to forcefully withdraw, they would have to bear the effects of the exploding acupuncture points. The black poison old man's speed was relatively fast. When the power rushed to his hands, it had already been completely withdrawn. Therefore, the power of the 5 poisons only exploded on the surface of the black poison old man's body. If it had rushed into his body, it would have directly opened a hole in his chest. One could imagine how terrifying it would have been. Bang! Bang! 2 of his arms were blown off. The black poison old man retreated several steps, instantly kneeling on the ground. Looking at his 2 broken arms, he was dumbfounded. He didn't dare to believe that with his cultivation, there would be a day when he would leave his broken arms here. How could this be? Who exactly was this young man? How could he possess such power? Even the black poison old man had never expected this. What was even more unexpected was Lu Jianzhong and the rest. In the competition between the black poison old man and Li Zongjiu, it was naturally clear who would win. It couldn't be that the black poison old man had blown off his arms, but Li Zongjiu had actually suffered extremely serious internal injuries. Everyone present was in an uproar. The black poison old man opened his eyes and turned to flee, but Li Zongjiu directly rushed over with his stool. Pa! The stool smashed the black poison old man to the ground, causing him to feel dizzy. A mouthful of old blood spurted out. The black poison old man had never imagined that there would be a day when he would be smashed to the ground by someone with a stool. This was simply unimaginable. At this moment, both of his arms were already broken. After receiving such a heavy blow, if he didn't flee now, his old life would probably end here. Just as he was about to get up and flee, another stool came crashing down. Bang! 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 In front of everyone, Li Zongjiu had used the chair to end Old Man Black Poison's life. Old Man Black Poison's body had been smashed to smithereens. Even if his own son came, he might not be able to recognize him. Phew! This old man's bones are really tough. After so long, he still hasn't called for help. Li Zongjiu seemed to be wiping away his sweat. When the others heard Li Zongjiu's words, they all raised their middle fingers in their hearts. The other party had already fainted, how could he call for help? You also want to die for him, right? Li Zongjiu pointed at Tang Jiushan and said. Tang Jiushan was instantly stunned. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.